Chapter 1. The Old Man Who Died Twice. Rain fell across the city. It was the kind of rain that made the entire world look gray. Drops of water struck the glass windows of a small workshop on the outskirts of the city, sliding slowly downward before disappearing into the darkness below. Inside the workshop a single light remained on. The old man sitting beneath it did not seem to notice the storm. His attention was focused entirely on the machine in front of him. He was 60 years old. His hair had long since turned white. His face was covered with wrinkles. His hands were thin and rough from decades of working with metal, engines, circuits, and machines. But his eyes were still sharp, still curious, still alive. The old man was named Lapu-Lapu. For most people, 60 years old was an age when they thought about retirement. For Lapu-Lapu it was another day in the workshop. He leaned closer to the machine. A small mechanical device rested on the table. It looked simple, almost primitive. But inside its metal casing was an invention that had taken him more than 10 years to develop. A miniature energy conversion engine. It was designed to convert ambient energy into usable power. Lapu-Lapu adjusted a tiny component. "Come on." The machine remained silent. He frowned. "Don't embarrass me now." He adjusted another component. "Nothing." Lapu-Lapu sighed. He reached for a screwdriver. Then stopped. His eyes narrowed. He stared at the machine. Wait. He looked at the circuit. Then at the power core. Then at the energy regulator. A smile slowly appeared on his face. "Of course." He laughed. "I'm an idiot." He immediately grabbed a tool. The old man's hands moved quickly. Despite his age, his fingers were incredibly precise. He removed the regulator, replaced a component, adjusted the energy flow. Then he stepped back. "Let's try again." Lapu-Lapu activated the machine. A faint blue light appeared. His eyes widened. The machine began to vibrate. The energy core started spinning. A soft humming sound filled the workshop. Lapu-Lapu's smile became wider. "Yes." The machine grew brighter. He watched the energy readings. The output increased. 10%, 20, 30, 40. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. Impossible. The output continued increasing. 50, 60, 70. The machine began producing more energy than it was consuming. Lapu-Lapu stepped backward. That's not supposed to happen. The machine reached 90%, then 100. The entire workshop shook. Lapu-Lapu's expression changed. "Shut down." He reached for the emergency switch. Nothing happened. "Come on." He pressed it again. Nothing. The machine continued increasing. 120%, 150, 200. Lapu-Lapu immediately grabbed the main power cable. He pulled. The cable refused to move. "What's happening?" The machine's light became brighter. The workshop filled with blue energy. Lapu-Lapu stepped back. His heart began beating faster. He had spent his entire life studying machines. He knew when something was wrong, and this was very wrong. The energy core began producing a strange sound. Not mechanical. Not electrical. Something else. A deep vibration. Almost like a heartbeat. Boom. Lapu-Lapu froze. Boom. The machine vibrated. Boom. The blue light expanded. Lapu-Lapu stared at it. For one brief moment he saw something inside the light. A world. Mountains. Clouds. A massive moon. A sky filled with strange stars. Then everything disappeared. The machine exploded. Lapu-Lapu felt something strike his chest. His body flew backward. He hit the wall. Pain exploded across his body. The workshop disappeared into darkness. The old man tried to move. Nothing happened. His vision became blurry. He could barely breathe. Smoke filled the room. His ears rang. Lapu-Lapu, he heard a voice. He wasn't sure if it was real. He tried to speak. Nothing came out. His body became cold. The rain continued outside. The machine was destroyed. The workshop was silent. Lapu-Lapu looked toward the ceiling. He suddenly realized something. He was dying. After 60 years he was finally dying. He should have been afraid, but strangely he wasn't. His life had been simple. He had never become rich. He had never become famous. He had never built the greatest machine in history. He had simply spent his life learning, building, creating, trying to understand the world. He smiled weakly. Maybe he whispered, "There's something beyond this world." His eyes slowly closed. The final sound he heard was thunder. Then nothing. Lapu-Lapu died. But his story had not ended. Something happened. Something impossible. His consciousness remained. He was floating. There was no body, no sound, no light, no darkness, just existence. Lapu-Lapu opened his eyes. Or at least he thought he opened them. There was nothing to see. He tried to move. Nothing happened. He tried to speak. Nothing happened. Then a voice appeared. Are you awake? Lapu-Lapu froze. The voice sounded young. Female. Come. Lapu-Lapu tried to answer. Who are you? His voice worked. The voice replied. I don't know. Lapu-Lapu frowned. That's not a very helpful answer. I'm sorry. Where am I? I don't know. Who am I? The voice paused. You are Lapu-Lapu. Lapu-Lapu became silent. How do you know my name? I don't know. He sighed. You're not very intelligent, are you? The voice became quiet. Then I think I am. Lapu-Lapu almost laughed. Then why don't you know anything? Because I just woke up. Lapu-Lapu became silent. Something was wrong. Very wrong. He tried to remember. The workshop. The machine. The explosion. His death. Then nothing. Wait. Lapu-Lapu asked. Did I die? Yes. Then why am I talking? I don't know. Lapu-Lapu sighed. Wonderful. Suddenly light appeared. A massive blue light. Lapu-Lapu felt himself falling. Wait. The voice shouted. What? I think something is happening. What? I don't know. That's becoming a habit. Then Lapu-Lapu fell. He fell through darkness. Faster. 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 He felt something hit him. Pain. Real pain. He screamed. His body twisted. He could feel his arms. His legs. His chest. His heart. He was alive. Lapu-Lapu opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was the sky. A beautiful blue sky. White clouds moved slowly above him. He stared. He couldn't move. He tried to breathe. Air entered his lungs. Fresh air. Clean air. He immediately sat up. Then froze. His hands. They were small. Thin. Young. Lapu-Lapu stared at them. His heart began racing. He touched his face. Smooth skin. No wrinkles. No beard. No age spots. He touched his hair. Black. He immediately looked down. His body was thin. Extremely thin. His clothes were simple. Made from rough fabric. His feet were bare. Lapu-Lapu slowly stood. His knees almost collapsed. He looked around. A forest. Massive trees. Strange plants. Mountains in the distance. Birds flew overhead. But they weren't normal birds. Some were enormous. One had wings wider than a house. Another had 3 tails. Lapu-Lapu stared. Where he looked around. Where am I? The voice returned. Unknown. Lapu-Lapu froze. You. Yes. You're still here. Yes. Where are you? I don't know. Lapu-Lapu sighed. Can you at least tell me what happened? You died. I know that. You were reborn. Lapu-Lapu froze. What? You were reborn. Into what? The voice answered. Another body. Lapu-Lapu looked down. His eyes widened. How old am I? 16. Silence. Lapu-Lapu stared at his hands. 16. He had died at 60. Now he was 16. That means he looked around. This isn't Earth. The voice became quiet. Lapu-Lapu looked at the sky. Something was wrong with the stars. Even during daylight, he could sense something. A strange energy. Something flowing through the air. Something he had never encountered on Earth. Lapu-Lapu closed his eyes. He felt it. A strange force. Flowing. Moving. Entering his body. He immediately opened his eyes. What is that? The voice answered. Kai. Lapu-Lapu froze. Kai? Yes. You're telling me he looked at the mountains? The cultivation energy? Yes. Lapu-Lapu laughed. At first quietly. Then louder. Then he couldn't stop. The old mechanical genius who had died in a workshop had been reborn as a 16-year-old boy in another world. A world where cultivation was real. A world where Kai existed. Lapu-Lapu looked at the sky. He laughed. Of all the things, then his laughter stopped. A sound came from behind him. Lapu-Lapu turned. 3 young men stood at the edge of the forest. They were around his apparent age. 2 were strong. 1 was enormous. They wore tribal clothing. Each carried a weapon. A spear. A wooden club. And a short sword. Lapu-Lapu immediately became cautious. The largest boy laughed. Look who finally woke up. Lapu-Lapu stared at him. The boy walked closer. You really are useless. Lapu-Lapu frowned. What? The boy stopped. The 3 boys looked at each other. Then laughed. The largest one stepped forward. Did hitting your head make you stupid? Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. The boy grabbed his shirt. Everyone in the tribe knows you're useless. Lapu-Lapu looked at the boy's hand. Then at his face. Something inside him felt strange. A memory. Not his memory. Someone else's. Images flashed through his mind. A small village. A boy. A thin boy. A boy who was constantly bullied. A boy who couldn't cultivate. A boy whose parents had died. A boy who was considered useless. His name Lapu-Lapu. Lapu-Lapu froze. He understood. This body had belonged to someone else. The original Lapu-Lapu. A 16-year-old boy. Weak. Thin. Bullied. Forgotten. And now the old mechanical genius had inherited his body. His memories. His name. His life. Lapu-Lapu slowly looked at the bully. The boy still held his shirt. "Why are you staring at me?" Lapu-Lapu smiled. It was a small smile. The bully frowned. What? Lapu-Lapu had been weak. The original boy had been weak. But the man inside the body was not the same. 60 years of experience. 60 years of mechanical knowledge. 60 years of observing human behavior. And now a new world. A new body. A new life. Lapu-Lapu looked at the bully. Then calmly said, "Let go." The bully laughed. "Or what?" Lapu-Lapu looked at his hand. "Let go." The bully raised his fist. The other two boys laughed. "You're going to hit him? He can't even cultivate. He's useless." The bully punched. Lapu-Lapu moved. Not quickly. Not dramatically. He simply stepped sideways. The punch missed. The bully stumbled. Lapu-Lapu stared. The boy turned. "What?" Lapu-Lapu smiled. "Interesting." The bully attacked again. Lapu-Lapu moved. Another punch. Missed. Another. Missed. The boy became furious. "Stop moving." Lapu-Lapu almost laughed. "You keep telling me what to do." The bully swung wildly. Lapu-Lapu stepped backward. He studied the movement. The balance. The foot position. The angle. The force. His mechanical mind immediately analyzed everything. Weak stance. Poor balance. Inefficient movement. Excessive energy. Lapu-Lapu smiled. He had never been a martial artist. But he understood mechanics. And the human body was a machine. A biological machine. He watched. He learned. Then he moved. Lapu-Lapu stepped forward. The bully attacked. Lapu-Lapu grabbed his wrist. Twisted. Used the boy's own momentum. The bully flew forward. He crashed into the dirt. Silence. The other two boys stared. Lapu-Lapu stared at his own hand. He had done it. He had defeated someone. But something was wrong. He felt energy. A strange energy. When he moved, the Kai inside his body had reacted. His movements had somehow pulled the energy. He looked at his hand. The Kai was flowing. Weak. Very weak. But present. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Interesting. The bully stood. His face was red with anger. Lapu-Lapu looked at him. The bully hesitated. For the first time he felt something strange. Fear. Not because Lapu-Lapu was strong. He wasn't. But because the look in the boy's eyes was different. The old Lapu-Lapu looked at the three boys. Then spoke calmly. "Go." The bully clenched his fists. "This isn't over." Lapu-Lapu smiled. "Then come back when you're stronger." The bully froze. The three boys left. Lapu-Lapu watched them disappear. Then he looked toward the forest. His expression became serious. He had survived. But he knew something. This world was dangerous. He was 16. His body was weak. His cultivation was almost non-existent. He had no money. No family. No influence. No knowledge of this world's civilization. But he had something else. Knowledge. Experience. And most importantly, he was a mechanical genius. Lapu-Lapu looked at the strange plants around him. He looked at the mountains. He looked at the distant village. Then he looked toward the sky. Earth? The word felt strange. He remembered his workshop. His machine. The explosion. His death. He wondered, was Earth still there? Was his invention still there? Did anyone discover what happened? Did anyone remember him? Lapu-Lapu closed his eyes. He felt something. A strange connection. For a moment he saw the blue planet. Earth? The blue planet. A small world floating in an enormous universe. Then the vision disappeared. Lapu-Lapu opened his eyes. He stared at the sky. I'll return. He didn't know how. He didn't know when. He didn't know if it was possible. But he would return. Not yet. First he needed to survive. Then he needed strength. Then he needed knowledge. Then he needed technology. And eventually he would find a way back to Earth. Lapu-Lapu looked at his thin hands. The old mechanical genius smiled. First he looked toward the distant village. Let's see what kind of world this is. He began walking. Every step was weak. Every breath was difficult. But his mind was already working. The first thing he needed was information. The second was food. The third was shelter. The fourth was cultivation. And after that he would need tools. Machines. Weapons. Energy. Knowledge. Lapu-Lapu smiled. His life had started again, but this time he would not spend 60 years waiting for the world to change. He would change the world himself. The thin 16-year-old boy walked toward the tribe. Nobody knew it yet. The tribe had no idea. The martial world had no idea. The cultivators had no idea. The empires had no idea. The ancient civilizations had no idea that the weakest boy in the tribe was no longer the same person. Inside that young body lived the mind of a 60-year-old mechanical genius. A man who understood machines. A man who understood energy. A man who understood human nature. And now he had discovered Kai. He had discovered cultivation. He had discovered a world beyond Earth. Lapu-Lapu looked back at the forest. For a brief moment he thought he saw something. A small blue light, floating between the trees. He stopped. The light disappeared. Lapu-Lapu frowned. Was that he couldn't finish the sentence? A faint voice suddenly appeared inside his mind. The mysterious voice from before. Lapu-Lapu. He froze. Yes. I remember something. Lapu-Lapu's eyes narrowed. What? The voice became quiet, then answered. Your machine. Lapu-Lapu's heart stopped. What about it? I remember where the energy came from. Lapu-Lapu stood completely still. Where? The voice answered. Earth. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. Yes. Your machine was not creating energy. It was opening something. Opening what? The voice paused. Then a door. Lapu-Lapu stared at the sky. A door to where? The voice answered. I don't know. Lapu-Lapu smiled. For the first time since his reincarnation he felt something. A connection. His death. His invention. His reincarnation. His new world. Perhaps they weren't separate events. Perhaps they were all connected. Lapu-Lapu looked toward the distant mountains. His eyes became determined. Then I'll find out. The 16-year-old boy continued walking. Behind him the forest became silent. Above him the strange sky darkened. And far beyond the stars something ancient awakened. Something that had noticed the arrival of a new soul. Something that had been waiting for a very long time. The world had gained a new cultivator. The tribe had gained a new genius. The martial world had gained a future emperor. And somewhere beyond reality the blue planet had gained a traveler who would one day return home. But before Lapu-Lapu could return to Earth he would have to conquer this world first. Not through politics. Not through titles. Not through inherited power. But through the only things he truly trusted. His mind. His machines. His cultivation. And his relentless desire to understand the impossible. The Iron Emperor had been born. Chapter 2. The weakest boy in the tribe. The village was called the Stone River Tribe. Lapu-Lapu learned the name the moment he entered through the wooden gate. It was not a large settlement. Perhaps 200 people lived there. The village was surrounded by enormous trees and mountains that disappeared into the clouds. Wooden houses were scattered around a wide central clearing, while several larger stone buildings stood near the center. Smoke rose from cooking fires. Children ran between the houses. Hunters returned from the forest carrying strange animals. Blacksmiths worked near stone furnaces. And everywhere Lapu-Lapu could feel Kai. It flowed through the air like an invisible river. Weak. Unrefined. But everywhere. Lapu-Lapu stopped. He closed his eyes. The moment he focused his mind, he could sense it. A strange energy surrounded him. It moved through the atmosphere. It gathered around living creatures. It flowed through plants. It even seemed to move through the ground. Lapu-Lapu opened his eyes. So this is Kai. He had read about concepts like this in fiction. He had seen people talk about cultivation. But as a scientist and engineer, he had always considered such ideas impossible. Now he was standing in a world where Kai was real. The old Lapu-Lapu would have spent his entire life trying to understand it. The new Lapu-Lapu intended to do exactly that. But first he needed to survive. Where have you been? A voice suddenly shouted. Lapu-Lapu turned. An old woman stood near one of the houses. Her face was filled with worry. Lapu-Lapu immediately recognized her. Another memory appeared. The original Lapu-Lapu knew this woman. She was called Elder Marta. She had taken care of him after his parents died. Not his biological grandmother, but the closest thing he had to family. Lapu-Lapu studied her expression. She looked angry, but underneath the anger was concern. Do you know how long I've been looking for you? Lapu-Lapu remained silent. The old woman walked toward him. Then she suddenly grabbed his arm. You're injured. Lapu-Lapu looked down. There was a bruise on his side. He had completely forgotten about it. I'm fine. Fine? The old woman looked at him. You disappear into the forest for half a day, come back covered in dirt, and tell me you're fine? Lapu-Lapu didn't know how to answer. The original Lapu-Lapu had apparently been a terrible liar, so he decided to tell the truth. I was attacked. Elder Mara froze. Who? Some boys. Her expression immediately changed. Again? Lapu-Lapu nodded. The old woman clenched her fists. Those brats. She looks toward the center of the village. I'll speak with their parents. Lapu-Lapu stopped her. No. Elder Mara turned. Why not? Because it won't solve anything. The old woman stared. Lapu-Lapu continued. They'll just find another way. Elder Mara looked at him strangely. You've never spoken like that before. Lapu-Lapu froze. His mind immediately recognized the danger. He had to be careful. The original Lapu-Lapu was weak. He was timid. He rarely spoke. He avoided confrontation. The old Lapu-Lapu was completely different. He had spent 60 years dealing with people, scientists, engineers, businessmen, government officials, investors. He knew how to speak. He knew how to negotiate. He knew how to manipulate situations. But this world didn't know that. Lapu-Lapu smiled weakly. Maybe he paused. Got tired. Elder Marta looked at him. Tired? Tired of being weak. Silence. The old woman's expression softened. Lapu-Lapu looked away. I don't want to stay like this. Elder Marta sighed. Then she touched his shoulder. You don't have to be strong. Lapu-Lapu looked at her. Everyone says that. But they are wrong. Elder Mara stared. Lapu-Lapu continued. I need to become strong. Why? Because if I'm weak. He looks toward the mountains. Someone else decides my future. Elder Mara became silent. For a moment she saw something different in the boy. Not strength. Not power. Something else. Determination. She didn't know where it came from. But it was there. Come inside. Lapu-Lapu followed. The house was small. One room. A wooden table. 2 beds. A cooking area. A few clay containers. Lapu-Lapu looked around. He had lived in laboratories bigger than this. His old workshop had contained more technology than the entire village. But something about this place felt strange. Warm. He sat down. Elder Marta brought him food. A bowl of meat. Some vegetables. And a strange fruit. Lapu-Lapu stared at it. What is this? Forest fruit. Is it poisonous? Elder Marta stared at him. Then laughed. No. Good. Lapu-Lapu began eating. He immediately realized something. The food contained kai. Very little. But it was there. His body absorbed it. Lapu-Lapu stopped eating. He stared at the meat. Interesting. Elder Marta looked at him. What? Nothing. Lapu-Lapu continued eating. But his mind was already working. The food contained kai. The plants contained kai. The air contained kai. The body absorbed kai. This meant the entire ecosystem was connected to cultivation. Kai wasn't simply energy. It was part of the environment. A universal energy system. Lapu-Lapu immediately began thinking like an engineer. If kai was energy, then it could be measured, stored, converted, transmitted, controlled, perhaps even engineered. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Elder Mara noticed. What are you thinking about? Machines. The old woman frowned. Machines? Yes. Why? Lapu-Lapu looked at her. Because I need one. Need what? A machine. For what? Lapu-Lapu smiled. To understand kai. Elder Mara stared. Then laughed. You can't even cultivate. Lapu-Lapu's expression changed. What? The old woman stopped laughing. You don't remember? Remember what? Elder Mara became concerned. She reached out. Then placed her hand on his forehead. Are you sick? I'm fine. Then why are you asking? Tell me. Elder Mara hesitated. Your kai channels, she sighed. They are damaged. Lapu-Lapu became silent. Damaged? Yes. How? No one knows. Can they be repaired? Elder Marta shook her head. The elders tried. And? Nothing worked. Lapu-Lapu looked down. The original boy's memories returned. He remembered. He had tried cultivating. Again. And again. But kai would not stay inside his body. It leaked away. His meridians were damaged. His danshin was weak. The tribe had given up on him. That was why everyone called him useless. Lapu-Lapu slowly smiled. Elder Mara frowned. Why are you smiling? Lapu-Lapu looked at her. Because he touched his chest. They made a mistake. What mistake? They assumed cultivation is only one method. Elder Mara stared. Lapu-Lapu continued. They tried to fix my body using cultivation. Yes. But they never asked why it was broken. The old woman didn't understand. Lapu-Lapu stood. Where is the tribe's blacksmith? Elder Marta blinked. Why? I need tools. Tools? Metal. For what? An experiment. Elder Mara sighed. Lapu-Lapu, yes? Please don't destroy anything. Lapu-Lapu smiled. I make no promises. The tribe's blacksmith was an enormous man named Cardo. He was almost 2 meters tall. His arms were covered in muscles. He could lift heavy pieces of iron with one hand. When Lapu-Lapu entered the workshop, Cardo looked up. He immediately laughed. "Why are you here?" Lapu-Lapu looked around. The workshop was primitive. A stone furnace, a hammer, several metal tools, a manual bellows, a few pieces of iron. Lapu-Lapu stared. His mechanical mind immediately began analyzing. Primitive. Extremely primitive. But usable. He walked toward the furnace. Cardo frowned. "What are you doing?" "Looking." "At what?" "Everything." Cardo laughed. "You're strange today." Lapu-Lapu ignored him. He picked up a piece of metal. Iron. Low quality. Impurities. Poorly refined. He examined it. Then looked at the furnace. "Your temperature is too low." Cardo froze. "What?" Lapu-Lapu pointed. "The furnace." "What's wrong with it?" "Everything." Cardo stared. Lapu-Lapu continued. "You're wasting fuel. You're losing heat. Your airflow is inefficient. Your bellows are terrible." Cardo's face slowly turned red. "You little brat." Lapu-Lapu turned. "Do you want better metal?" Cardo stopped. "Of course." "Then listen." For the next hour, Lapu-Lapu redesigned the furnace. He changed the airflow, modified the bellows, rearranged the fuel, created a better heat chamber. Cardo watched. At first he was angry, then confused, then amazed. The furnace became hotter, much hotter. The metal began glowing. Cardo stared. How Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. He was already thinking. The old Lapu-Lapu had spent decades studying heat transfer, thermodynamics, materials science, mechanical engineering. This world had Kai, but technology was primitive. That meant there was an opportunity, a massive one. Lapu-Lapu picked up a piece of metal. It was stronger, cleaner, more refined. Cardo stared at it. "You did that?" Lapu-Lapu nodded. "With the same materials." Cardo looked at the furnace, then at Lapu-Lapu. "How?" "Science." "What?" Lapu-Lapu smiled. "Knowledge." Cardo frowned. "I don't understand." "You don't have to." Lapu-Lapu looked around. "I need something." "What?" "A small container." "For what?" "Kai." Cardo stared. "You can't cultivate." "Not yet." Lapu-Lapu picked up a piece of metal. "I want to build a machine." "What kind?" "A Kai measuring device." Cardo laughed. "Measure Kai?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because I want to know why my body can't hold it." Cardo's laughter stopped. Lapu-Lapu looked at him. "If I can understand the problem, I can fix it." Cardo became silent. For the first time he realized something. The boy wasn't joking. Lapu-Lapu truly believed he could fix himself. Cardo looked at the furnace, then at the metal, then back at the boy. "You're different." Lapu-Lapu smiled. "I've been told that." Cardo handed him a piece of metal. "Fine. Use my workshop." Lapu-Lapu looked surprised. "Why?" "Because I want to see if you can actually build something." Lapu-Lapu smiled. "Deal." He immediately began working. The first device was primitive. A metal ring, a small crystal, several wires, a mechanical needle. The crystal was the most important component. Lapu-Lapu had discovered that the crystal could absorb Kai. That made it a natural energy sensor. He connected the crystal to the metal ring, then attached the needle. He placed the device near his hand. Nothing happened. Lapu-Lapu frowned. He concentrated. He tried to pull Kai into his body. The result was immediate. Pain. His meridians burned. Kai entered, then escaped. The needle moved. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. The device worked. Again. He tried. The needle moved, then stopped. He examined the readings. His mind immediately calculated. The Kai entered his body, moved through his meridians, then disappeared. But it wasn't leaking randomly. There was a pattern. Lapu-Lapu's expression changed. "That's strange." Cardo watched. "What?" Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. He tried again. Kai entered. The needle moved. The energy traveled through his body. Then it disappeared near his chest. Lapu-Lapu froze. He placed his hand over his heart. Again. He tried. Same result. Kai entered, traveled, then vanished. Cardo frowned. "What is happening?" Lapu-Lapu's eyes narrowed. "Something is absorbing it." "Your body?" "No." "Then what?" Lapu-Lapu didn't know. He tried again. This time he pushed more Kai into his body. The pain increased. His meridians burned. The crystal began glowing. The needle moved faster. Then the device exploded. Bang! Lapu-Lapu was thrown backward. Cardo shouted, "Lapu-Lapu!" Smoke filled the workshop. Lapu-Lapu coughed. Then he laughed. Cardo stared. "Are you insane?" Lapu-Lapu stood. He was covered in soot, but his eyes were shining. "I found it." Found what? The problem. Cardo stared. What problem? Lapu-Lapu touched his chest. My body isn't broken. Cardo froze. What? Lapu-Lapu smiled. It's not leaking, Kai. Then what? Something is taking it. Cardo looked confused. What? Lapu-Lapu stared at his own chest. I don't know. Then he felt it. A pulse. Something inside him. Something that hadn't been there before. Lapu-Lapu closed his eyes. He sensed Kai. But this time the Kai wasn't disappearing. It was moving somewhere. Deeper. Much deeper. Into something hidden. Something that had been sleeping. Lapu-Lapu's expression changed. He heard a voice. The mysterious voice. Lapu-Lapu. He froze. Yes. I remember. What? Your machine. Lapu-Lapu's heart raced. What about it? The voice answered. The energy that killed you, Lapu-Lapu waited. Was not an accident. Silence. Lapu-Lapu's eyes narrowed. What are you saying? The voice continued. Your machine opened a door. Lapu-Lapu remembered the blue light. The strange world. The energy. His death. His reincarnation. Where? I don't know. Then what do you know? The voice became quiet. Then I know the energy followed you. Lapu-Lapu froze. What? It came with you. Where? The voice answered. Inside your body. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. The Kai. The damaged meridians. The strange energy. The unexplained connection. Everything suddenly made sense. His body wasn't broken. Something had been placed inside it. Something from Earth. Something from the machine. Something that had crossed worlds. Lapu-Lapu looked at his chest. The voice whispered. Your machine didn't send you here. Lapu-Lapu stared. Then what did it do? The answer came. It brought something with you. Suddenly a pulse of energy exploded from Lapu-Lapu's body. The entire workshop shook. Cardo fell backward. The furnace went out. The crystal shattered. Lapu-Lapu remained standing. A faint blue light appeared beneath his skin. His eyes widened. He could feel something. A tiny core, deep inside his body. It was not a Danshin. It was not Kai. It was not mechanical. It was something else. Something unknown. Something that seemed to be calling. Lapu-Lapu looked toward the sky. For a brief moment he saw a vision. A blue planet. Earth? The blue planet. Then a second image appeared. A massive mechanical structure orbiting Earth. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. What is that? The vision disappeared. Silence returned. Cardo stared at him. Lapu-Lapu, the young boy, turned. Yes. What? He pointed toward Lapu-Lapu's chest. Are you? Lapu-Lapu looked at his hands. He didn't know. Not yet. But one thing was certain. The original Lapu-Lapu had been considered useless because he couldn't cultivate. Everyone had believed his body was defective. They were wrong. His body wasn't defective. It was different. And hidden inside it was something that had traveled across worlds. Something connected to the machine that killed him. Something connected to Earth. Something connected to Kai. And perhaps something connected to the future. Lapu-Lapu smiled. The old mechanical genius had found his first mystery. And he loved mysteries. He turned toward Cardo. Can I use your workshop? Cardo stared at him. Why? Lapu-Lapu smiled. Because I have a lot of work to do. Cardo looked around his destroyed workshop. The furnace was damaged. The equipment was scattered. The crystal was broken. Smoke filled the room. Cardo slowly closed his eyes. You destroyed my workshop. Lapu-Lapu looked embarrassed. Technically, get out. Lapu-Lapu immediately walked toward the door. Wait. He stopped. Cardo sighed. Come back tomorrow. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Really? Yes. Thank you. But Cardo pointed at him. If you destroy my workshop again, Lapu-Lapu waited. I'll charge you. Lapu-Lapu laughed. Fair enough. He walked outside. The sun was beginning to set. The Stone River tribe was becoming quiet. Lapu-Lapu looked toward the mountains. He could feel Kai. He could feel the strange energy inside his body. And somewhere far beyond this world he could feel something else. A connection. A faint signal. Something calling from across the universe. From a world called Earth. The blue planet. Lapu-Lapu smiled. He didn't know how long it would take. He didn't know what he would have to overcome. But eventually he would return. Until then he had a world to understand. A cultivation system to master. A body to repair. A machine to build. And an empire to create. Chapter 3. The first machine of Kai. The next morning, Lapu-Lapu woke before sunrise. He opened his eyes. For several seconds, he remained completely still. Then he remembered. The workshop. The explosion. The strange energy. The vision. Earth. The blue planet. And the mysterious thing hidden inside his body. Lapu-Lapu sat up. He placed his hand against his chest. Nothing. No pain. No light. No strange energy, just the steady beating of his heart. He closed his eyes. Breathe in, breathe out. He tried to sense Kai. At first nothing happened. Then a faint sensation appeared. The air around him felt different. Lapu-Lapu could sense something moving. Energy. Kai. It was everywhere. He could feel it entering his body. Slowly, very slowly. Then it stopped. Lapu-Lapu frowned. He tried again. The result was the same. Kai entered, then disappeared. He opened his eyes. Interesting. He had already learned something. His body was not incapable of absorbing Kai. The problem was what happened afterward. Something inside him was redirecting the energy. But where? Lapu-Lapu needed data, and data required tools. He stood. The house was quiet. Elder Marto was still sleeping. Lapu-Lapu quietly left. Outside, the tribe was beginning to wake. Hunters prepared their weapons. Blacksmiths started their furnaces. Children ran through the village. The smell of cooking filled the air. Lapu-Lapu walked toward the blacksmith's workshop. Cardo was already there. The enormous blacksmith looked up. His face immediately became serious. You. Lapu-Lapu stopped. Good morning. Cardo pointed at him. Did you bring money? Lapu-Lapu blinked. Money? For yesterday. What about yesterday? You destroyed my equipment. Lapu-Lapu looked at the workshop. He noticed the broken crystal, the damaged furnace, several scattered tools. He coughed. Ah. Cardo crossed his arms. You said you'd pay. Yes. Well. Lapu-Lapu reached into his clothes. Nothing. He searched again. Still nothing. Cardo stared. Lapu-Lapu smiled awkwardly. I don't have money. I know. Then why did you ask? Because I wanted to see your face. Lapu-Lapu laughed. Cardo shook his head. You really are different. Lapu-Lapu walked inside. I'll pay you later. With what? Lapu-Lapu looked around. Something useful. Cardo raised an eyebrow. Such as? Lapu-Lapu pointed toward the furnace. I can improve that. You already did. I can make it better. Cardo became interested. How much better? Lapu-Lapu smiled. Enough to make you rich. Cardo stared. Explain. Lapu-Lapu picked up a piece of charcoal. He drew a diagram on the ground. This is your furnace. Cardo crouched beside him. Lapu-Lapu continued drawing. Your current design depends on direct combustion. Yes. The problem is that most of the heat escapes. Correct. Your airflow is also inefficient. Cardo nodded. Lapu-Lapu drew another structure. We create a secondary chamber. Why? To recycle the heat. Cardo's eyes widened. Lapu-Lapu continued. Then we create a controlled airflow system. He drew another diagram. The air enters here, moves through the furnace, then exits through this chamber. Cardo stared. Lapu-Lapu pointed at the design. The hot exhaust heats the incoming air. Cardo suddenly understood. That means the furnace becomes hotter. Cardo's eyes widened. And uses less fuel. Exactly. Cardo immediately stood. Let's build it. Lapu-Lapu smiled. That was the beginning. For the next several hours the two worked. Cardo handled the heavy materials. Lapu-Lapu handled the design. The old man inside the young boy's body moved with confidence. He measured, calculated, adjusted. He improved the furnace. The tribe's blacksmith watched in amazement. Lapu-Lapu's knowledge was unlike anything Cardo had ever seen. He didn't simply know how to build. He understood why things worked. That difference was enormous. By midday the new furnace was complete. Cardo lit it. The fire burned. The temperature rose. Higher. 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 Cardo stared at the metal inside. The iron began glowing bright orange. Then yellow. Cardo stepped back. This Lapu-Lapu smiled. Better? Much. Cardo looked at the furnace. Then at Lapu-Lapu. You weren't trained by the tribe. No. Who taught you? Lapu-Lapu froze. For a moment he remembered Earth. His workshop. His 60 years. The people he had met. The machines he had built. The countless nights spent studying. Then he smiled. Experience. Cardo didn't understand. But he didn't ask again. Lapu-Lapu walked toward the furnace. He picked up a piece of metal. Now he looked at the glowing iron. We make something. Cardo frowned. Something? A machine. What kind? Lapu-Lapu looked at him. Something that can measure Kai. Cardo sighed. We're back to that. Yes. Why? Because I need to understand my body. Cardo hesitated. Then nodded. Fine. Lapu-Lapu began collecting materials. Metal. Crystal. Copper. Wood. A few pieces of rare stone. Cardo watched. That's not enough. Lapu-Lapu looked at the materials. You're right. What do we need? Lapu-Lapu thought. A better energy conductor. Cardo pointed toward a storage area. We have some. Lapu-Lapu followed him. Cardo opened a wooden box. Inside was a collection of glowing crystals. Lapu-Lapu immediately felt something. Kai. Powerful Kai. He reached toward one. The moment his fingers touched it, his body reacted. The crystal glowed. Lapu-Lapu froze. Cardo noticed. What? Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. The crystal was pulling Kai from him. Not much, but enough. The strange energy inside his chest reacted. A faint blue light appeared beneath his skin. Lapu-Lapu immediately released the crystal. The glow disappeared. Cardo stared. What was that? Lapu-Lapu looked at the crystal. How did you get these? Cardo shrugged. Hunters find them in the mountains. Where? Deep underground. How deep? Cardo frowned. Why? Because I need more. Cardo shook his head. Those crystals are dangerous. Why? They attract beasts. How strong? Depends. On what? On the crystal. Cardo pointed. The brighter the crystal, the stronger the beast. Lapu-Lapu looked at the crystal. His mind immediately started calculating. Power source. Energy storage. Kai conductivity. Possible weapon. Possible reactor. Possible cultivation device. Lapu-Lapu's eyes became bright. This world had something Earth never had. A natural energy source. Kai. And it could be stored. That changed everything. He picked up the crystal. I'll need these. Cardo shook his head. They aren't cheap. I'll pay. With what? Lapu-Lapu smiled. Knowledge. Cardo frowned. Knowledge doesn't buy food. Maybe not. Lapu-Lapu pointed toward the furnace. But it can make better weapons. Cardo became silent. Lapu-Lapu continued. Better tools. Better armor. Better houses. Better machines. Cardo stared. Lapu-Lapu smiled. And if the tribe has better machines, we become stronger. Cardo thought about it. Then nodded. Fine. Deal? Deal. Lapu-Lapu immediately began working. The first device took 3 days. It was ugly, primitive, and extremely inefficient. But it worked. The machine consisted of a metal frame, a crystal core, a mechanical needle, a rotating Kai ring, and a series of copper conductors. Lapu-Lapu placed it on the table. Cardo stared. That's it? That's the first version. What does it do? Measure Kai. How? Lapu-Lapu pointed toward the crystal. When Kai enters, the crystal reacts. The reaction creates energy. The energy moves the needle. Cardo looked confused. Lapu-Lapu sighed. Think of it like a scale. A scale? Yes. When you put something heavy on it, the needle moves. Cardo nodded. Same principle, but instead of weight we measure Kai. Cardo finally understood. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Exactly. He placed his hand near the device. Nothing happened. He closed his eyes. Then he began cultivating. The technique was simple. One of the basic methods used by the tribe. Breathe. Relax. Draw Kai. Move Kai. Circulate Kai. Lapu-Lapu tried. Kai entered his body. The machine reacted. The needle moved. 1 point. 2. 3. Then it stopped. Lapu-Lapu opened his eyes. Cardo stared. What does that mean? Lapu-Lapu examined the device. It means, he frowned. My body is absorbing Kai. But something is taking it. Where? Lapu-Lapu placed his hand against his chest. Here. Cardo became nervous. Is that bad? I don't know. Lapu-Lapu activated the device again. This time he increased the flow. Kai entered. The needle moved. 5, 10, 20. Then the crystal suddenly turned blue. The entire machine began shaking. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. Stop. Cardo reached for the switch. There was no switch. Lapu-Lapu immediately grabbed the crystal. Don't touch it. Too late. The machine exploded. Boom! Cardo was thrown across the workshop. Lapu-Lapu crashed into the wall. The roof shook. Dust filled the air. Silence. Then Cardo's voice. I hate you. Lapu-Lapu coughed. Are you alive? Unfortunately. Lapu-Lapu laughed. Cardo stood. His face was covered in soot. He looked at the destroyed machine. Then at Lapu-Lapu. You said it was safe. It was. It exploded. That's not necessarily unsafe. Cardo stared. Lapu-Lapu paused. Okay. Very unsafe. Cardo sighed. Lapu-Lapu walked toward the remains. He examined the machine. The crystal was destroyed, but something else had happened. The explosion had left a mark. A circular pattern. Lapu-Lapu crouched. He stared. It wasn't random. The explosion had created a formation. A Kai formation. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. Interesting. Cardo looked at him. What now? Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. He touched the pattern. The moment his finger made contact, the world changed. Lapu-Lapu saw something. A vision. A massive structure, floating in darkness. It looked like a machine, but it was far too large. It was the size of a planet. Thousands of energy channels connected to it. Kai flowed through the structure, but it wasn't powered by Kai alone. Technology. Advanced technology. Impossible technology. The machine appeared to be combining Kai with something else. Something Lapu-Lapu recognized. Electricity. Energy. Mechanical power. The two systems were working together. Kai and technology. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. Then the vision changed. He saw a city. A massive city. Buildings reached the sky. Machines moved through the streets. Cultivators flew between towers. Mechanical warriors trained alongside martial artists. Kai-powered vehicles traveled through the air. Massive engines floated above the city. It was a civilization. A civilization where cultivation and technology had become one. Lapu-Lapu stared. Then he saw something else. A symbol. A blue planet. Earth. The blue planet. The symbol appeared on the side of one enormous machine. Lapu-Lapu froze. The vision disappeared. He opened his eyes. Cardo was staring. Lapu-Lapu? The young man didn't answer. Cardo grabbed his shoulder. Lapu-Lapu. He finally returned. What? You were staring at that thing for 5 minutes. Lapu-Lapu looked down. The formation was gone. He looked at the destroyed machine. Then at his hands. His heart was beating faster. The vision was impossible. Yet he knew what he had seen. A civilization. A civilization that had combined Kai and technology. A civilization far beyond the Stone River tribe. Perhaps far beyond this entire world. And somehow Earth was connected to it. Lapu-Lapu stood. Cardo. What? I need to ask you something. Fine. Has anyone ever heard of a world called Earth? Cardo stared. Earth? Yes. Never. A blue plant? Cardo shook his head. No. Lapu-Lapu frowned. What about a place where machines and cultivation are combined? Cardo laughed. That's impossible. Lapu-Lapu looked at him. Why? Machines are machines. Kai is Kai. They are different. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Are they? Cardo stared. Lapu-Lapu picked up 2 pieces of metal. One was ordinary. The other was connected to the broken crystal. He held them together. Both are energy systems. Cardo frowned. What's your point? If Kai can move through metal and electricity can move through metal, why can't they work together? Cardo became silent. Lapu-Lapu continued. If a cultivator can control Ki and a machine can control energy, then a machine can help a cultivator. Cardo slowly understood. Lapu-Lapu's eyes became brighter. And a cultivator can power a machine. Silence. Cardo stared. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Exactly. For the first time Lapu-Lapu saw the path ahead. The cultivation world had spent thousands of years mastering Kai. Earth had spent centuries mastering technology. But nobody, at least nobody in this tribe, had thought about combining them. Lapu-Lapu had. He had lived in both worlds. He understood machines. Now he had access to Kai. And if the vision was real, then someone had already done it. Somewhere. At some point. A civilization had combined cultivation and technology. And Earth was connected to it. Lapu-Lapu looked toward the sky. The sun was setting. The first stars appeared. He whispered, "Who are you?" No answer came. But inside his chest the mysterious energy pulsed. Once. Twice. Then a third time. Lapu-Lapu suddenly felt something. A signal. Very weak. Very distant. But unmistakable. He closed his eyes. The signal was coming from somewhere beyond this world. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't a message. It was a pattern. A mechanical pattern. Lapu-Lapu recognized it immediately. It was an encrypted signal. The kind used by machines. His heart raced. He knew that pattern. He had designed something similar. Back on Earth. Lapu-Lapu opened his eyes. No. He immediately ran. Cardo shouted. Where are you going? Lapu-Lapu didn't stop. To the mountain. Why? I need to find those crystals. Cardo stared. Why? Lapu-Lapu turned. His eyes were burning with determination. Because he looks toward the distant mountains. I think they're receiving something. Cardo became silent. Lapu-Lapu continued running. The old mechanical genius had spent 60 years trying to understand the universe. Now the universe had finally answered. And it had answered with a machine. A machine powered by Kai. A machine that might be connected to Earth. A machine that might have been waiting for him. Lapu-Lapu stopped at the edge of the village. He looked toward the mountains. Deep underground something was glowing. Something ancient. Something mechanical. And something was waking up. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Let's see what you've been hiding. The journey had begun. And the first machine of Kai was only the beginning. Chapter 4: The mountain that hid a machine. The mountain stood beyond the Stone River tribe. From a distance, it appeared ordinary, a massive wall of gray stone covered with trees, vines, and mist. But Lapu-Lapu knew better. Something was hidden beneath it, something that should not exist. He stood at the edge of the village, staring toward the mountain. The signal was still there, weak, faint, but unmistakable. It was a mechanical signal, a pattern, a language. And Lapu-Lapu knew it, because he had spent 60 years speaking the language of machines. You're hiding something. He smiled. Behind him, Cardo approached. The enormous blacksmith was carrying a heavy pack. Inside were tools, rope, food, a few weapons, and several pieces of equipment. Cardo stopped beside him. You're serious? Lapu-Lapu looked at him. About what? Going into the mountain. Yes. Why? Because there's something inside. Cardo frowned. There's always something inside a mountain. Not like this. What makes you so certain? Lapu-Lapu pointed toward his chest. I can feel it. Cardo stared. Your strange energy? Yes. Cardo sighed. I should have known. Lapu-Lapu looked at him. You don't have to come. Cardo immediately laughed. After you destroyed half my workshop? Lapu-Lapu frowned. That wasn't my fault. Of course. The machine malfunctioned. You built it. Technical difference. Cardo shook his head. You're impossible. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Are you coming? Cardo adjusted the pack on his shoulder. Someone has to make sure you don't blow up the mountain. The two began walking. They traveled for several hours. The forest became thicker. The trees grew larger. The air became colder. Lapu-Lapu's senses sharpened. He could feel Kai everywhere. But the closer they came to the mountain, the stronger it became. The signal was increasing. Lapu-Lapu stopped. Cardo nearly walked into him. What? Lapu-Lapu raised his hand. Listen. Cardo became silent. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. No birds. No insects. No animals. Cardo slowly reached for his weapon. Something's wrong. Lapu-Lapu nodded. Yes. Beast? Maybe. Then why are you smiling? Lapu-Lapu looked at him. Because we're close. Cardo sighed. I really don't understand you. Lapu-Lapu continued walking. The mountain entrance appeared shortly afterward. It was hidden behind enormous vines. Cardo immediately noticed something that wasn't there before. What? The entrance. Lapu-Lapu examined it. A large stone opening, almost perfectly circular. The edges were too smooth, too precise. Lapu-Lapu touched the stone. His eyes narrowed. This isn't natural. Cardo stepped closer. How can you tell? Look at the surface. Cardo examined it. What about it? The erosion. Cardo frowned. Lapu-Lapu explained. Natural stone doesn't form like this. The surface is too smooth. The angle is too perfect. And there are no cracks. Cardo looked confused. So Lapu-Lapu smiled. Someone built it. Cardo immediately became serious. Who? Lapu-Lapu stepped forward. I don't know. He placed his hand against the stone. The moment he touched it, the world changed. A faint blue light appeared. Lapu-Lapu immediately pulled his hand back. Cardo jumped. What happened? It recognized me. What? Lapu-Lapu stared at the entrance. A small symbol had appeared. A circle. Inside the circle was a mechanical pattern. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. He knew that symbol. He had seen it before. In his workshop. On the machine. Before he died. This Lapu-Lapu stepped closer. Cardo grabbed his arm. Wait. Lapu-Lapu stopped. Why? Because we don't know what's inside. Lapu-Lapu looked at him. Cardo was serious. That thing killed you. Lapu-Lapu froze. Cardo continued. You told me your machine exploded. Yes. And you think this place is connected to it. Yes. Then maybe we should leave. Lapu-Lapu thought about it. Cardo was right. There was danger. But there was also something else. The signal. The machine. The strange energy. The vision. Earth. Everything was connected. And Lapu-Lapu needed answers. He looked at Cardo. You're right. Cardo relaxed. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Which is why we should prepare first. Cardo stared. Prepare? Yes. How? Lapu-Lapu opened his pack. Inside were tools. He began assembling something. Cardo watched. What are you making? A detector. For what? Kai. Again? And something else. What? Lapu-Lapu connected two crystals. Mechanical energy. Cardo stared. You're trying to detect both? Yes. Why? Lapu-Lapu pointed toward the entrance. If there's only Kai inside, then it's a natural cave. And if there's only mechanical energy, then it's an ancient machine. Cardo nodded. But if there's both, Lapu-Lapu smiled. Then we have a problem. Cardo stared. What kind of problem? The kind I want to investigate. Cardo sighed. Of course. Lapu-Lapu finished the device. It was crude, but functional. He activated it. The needle moved. Kai detected. He adjusted the sensor. The needle moved again. Mechanical energy detected. Lapu-Lapu stared. Both. His expression became serious. Cardo looked at him. That's bad? Lapu-Lapu shook his head. No. Then what? Lapu-Lapu looks toward the mountain. It's impossible. Cardo frowned. Why? Because the two energies are completely different. According to who? Me. Cardo laughed. That's not a good explanation. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Trust me. He stepped toward the entrance. The symbol glowed brighter. Then the stone door opened. Cardo immediately grabbed his weapon. Lapu-Lapu stared. The entrance revealed a tunnel. Perfectly smooth. No torches. No lamps. Yet it was illuminated. A faint blue light covered the walls. Lapu-Lapu stepped inside. Cardo followed. The moment they entered, the entrance closed. Cardo turned. Lapu-Lapu. I know. We're trapped. Maybe. Maybe? Lapu-Lapu looked around. There's probably another exit. Probably? Lapu-Lapu smiled. Don't worry. That's exactly what people say before everything goes wrong. Lapu-Lapu laughed. The tunnel extended into darkness. They walked. 100 meters. 200. 500. The deeper they went, the stronger the signal became. Lapu-Lapu's device began shaking. Cardo noticed. Is that normal? No. Then why aren't we turning around? Because we're almost there. The device suddenly stopped. Lapu-Lapu froze. What? The signal disappeared. Cardo looked around. What happened? Lapu-Lapu examined the machine. It's gone. What? The signal. Maybe we're too far away. No. Then? Lapu-Lapu looked ahead. Maybe we're too close. Cardo frowned. What does that mean? Lapu-Lapu pointed. The tunnel ended. A massive door stood before them. The door was enormous. At least 20 meters tall. It was made from a metal Lapu-Lapu had never seen. Black. Smooth. Perfectly polished. And covered in symbols. Cardo stared. What is this? Lapu-Lapu approached. He touched the door. The symbols activated. One after another. Blue light traveled across the surface. Lapu-Lapu stepped back. The door began opening. Slowly, Cardo raised his weapon. Prepare yourself. Lapu-Lapu nodded. The door opened. Inside was a massive chamber. Cardo's mouth fell open. Lapu-Lapu stopped breathing. The room was enormous. Machines filled every wall. Pipes. Engines. Energy conduits. Mechanical arms. Strange crystals. Massive rotating rings. Everything was connected, but nothing moved. The entire chamber was dead. Or sleeping. At the center of the room was something enormous. A sphere. Black. Perfectly round. Floating above a platform. Lapu-Lapu stared. His body froze. He knew that sphere. He had seen it before. In his workshop. Before he died. The black sphere. His breathing stopped. Cardo noticed. Lapu-Lapu? Lapu-Lapu couldn't answer. He slowly walked forward. The sphere reacted. A blue light appeared. The same light from his machine. The same energy. The same signal. Lapu-Lapu whispered. You're here. Cardo stared. You know this thing? Lapu-Lapu nodded. It killed me. Cardo immediately raised his weapon. Then we leave. Lapu-Lapu didn't move. Now. Lapu-Lapu stepped closer. No. Cardo stared. Why? Because Lapu-Lapu looked at the sphere. I think I know why. The sphere pulsed. A wave of energy spread through the chamber. Lapu-Lapu felt it enter his body. The strange energy inside his chest responded. The two energies connected. Lapu-Lapu's vision disappeared. He saw Earth. The blue planet. Then he saw the machine. The one he had built. But this time he saw what happened before the explosion. His machine had activated. The energy core had opened. A portal. Not to another planet. Not to another dimension. Something deeper. Something outside ordinary space. The black sphere had appeared. It had been pulled through. Then something had followed. Lapu-Lapu saw a civilization. A massive civilization. Machines covered entire planets. Cultivators flew between stars. Kai reactors powered cities. Mechanical warriors fought alongside martial artists. It was the civilization from his vision. The civilization that had combined technology and cultivation. Then he saw something else. A symbol. The same symbol as the one on the mountain. Lapu-Lapu suddenly understood. The black sphere was not a weapon. It was a key. A key to a civilization. A civilization that had disappeared. Lapu-Lapu opened his eyes. The vision ended. Cardo grabbed him. What did you see? Lapu-Lapu breathed heavily. A city. Where? I don't know. Earth? No. Then where? Lapu-Lapu looked at the sphere. Somewhere else. Suddenly the sphere activated. A voice filled the chamber. Identification. Cardo froze. Lapu-Lapu stared. The voice continued. Identification required. Lapu-Lapu slowly stepped forward. Who are you? Identification required. I am Lapu-Lapu. Silence. Then identification confirmed. Lapu-Lapu froze. Cardo stared. The voice continued. Welcome back. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. Back? Cardo whispered. What does it mean? Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. The black sphere opened. A massive holographic image appeared. A map. Stars. Galaxies. Dimensions. Lapu-Lapu stared. The map was enormous. Then a single point began glowing. Cardo looked. What is that? Lapu-Lapu's heart began beating faster. He knew. He knew exactly what it was. Earth? The blue planet. The map showed the location of Earth. But there was something wrong. Lapu-Lapu stepped closer. The planet was surrounded by a massive structure. A network. Thousands of energy lines. Millions of mechanical satellites. A gigantic ring surrounding the planet. Cardo stared. What is that? Lapu-Lapu's mind raced. He recognized the design. It was impossible. But he knew what it was. A planetary energy system. Something had been built around Earth. Something enormous. Something advanced. Lapu-Lapu whispered. Someone turned Earth into a machine. Cardo stared. Who? Lapu-Lapu didn't know. But the black sphere did. A message appeared. Origin world. Blue planet designation. Earth status. Unknown. Lapu-Lapu froze. Unknown? The machine continued. Last contact. Unknown time. Unknown status of human civilization. Unknown. Lapu-Lapu's heart sank. Humans. Earth? Is home. The machine couldn't determine their status. That meant something had happened. He stared at the map. Then a second message appeared. Return path. Locked. Lapu-Lapu's eyes narrowed. Locked? The machine answered. Return path requires authorization. Who can authorize it? Silence. Then the Iron Emperor. Lapu-Lapu froze. Cardo stared. What? Lapu-Lapu slowly turned. The black sphere continued. Authorization required. Iron Emperor. Lapu-Lapu stared at the machine. He had never heard that title. Not in this world. Not on Earth. Yet the machine knew it. And somehow it was connected to him. Cardo looked at Lapu-Lapu. Are you the Iron Emperor? Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. He looked at the black sphere, then at the map, then at the symbol. He remembered the voice. The strange voice that had followed him since his death. He finally understood. The machine hadn't brought him here by accident. Someone or something had chosen him. And if he wanted to return to Earth, he needed to become something first. The Iron Emperor. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Not because he understood, but because he finally had a goal. He looked at Cardo. Let's go. Cardo frowned. Go where? Back to the tribe. Why? Because I have work to do. Cardo stared. That's all? Lapu-Lapu nodded. Yes. What about the machine? We'll come back. Why? Because we can't move it. Cardo looked at the enormous sphere. Then what? Lapu-Lapu smiled. We build our own. Cardo stared. Our own what? Machine. What kind? Lapu-Lapu looked toward the black sphere. One that can combine Kai and technology. Cardo's expression changed. You want to copy this? No. Lapu-Lapu shook his head. I want to improve it. Cardo stared. You haven't even seen how it works. I've seen enough. That's impossible. Lapu-Lapu smiled. I've been told that before. The two left the chamber. Behind them the black sphere remained silent. But as Lapu-Lapu disappeared into the tunnel, a small light appeared. A single line of text. Unknown variable detected. Then another. Origin world connection restored. Then the final message. The Iron Emperor has awakened. Far away on the blue planet something ancient detected the signal. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, a machine that had been sleeping for thousands of years opened its eyes. And for the first time it spoke. Return. Chapter 5. The Path of the Mechanical Cultivator. Lapu-Lapu did not sleep that night. He sat outside Elder Mara's small house, staring at the stars. The village was quiet. Most of the tribe had already gone to sleep. Only a few fires remained burning. The night wind moved gently through the trees. But inside Lapu-Lapu's mind nothing was quiet. He had too many questions. The black sphere. The mysterious civilization. The machine that had recognized him. The title Iron Emperor. And most importantly Earth. The blue planet. His home. Lapu-Lapu looked upward. He tried to imagine Earth from this world. Somewhere beyond the stars. Somewhere beyond dimensions. Perhaps millions of light years away. Perhaps outside normal space entirely. He didn't know. But he had finally discovered something. Earth was real. And there was a path back. The problem was that the path was locked. The Black Sphere had said that authorization was required. Authorization from the Iron Emperor. Lapu-Lapu laughed quietly. So I need to become someone. He looked at his thin hands. Before I can become myself. It was absurd. But strangely it made sense. He had been reborn. His old life was gone. His old body was gone. His old technology was gone. If he wanted to return, he needed to build everything again. From nothing. Lapu-Lapu smiled. That was something he understood. Building, creating, improving. He had spent 60 years doing exactly that. The difference was this time, he had Kai. He closed his eyes. He began cultivating. The basic cultivation technique from the Stone River tribe was simple. It was designed for beginners. Breathe. Gather Kai. Guide Kai. Circulate Kai. Strengthen the body. The original Lapu-Lapu had failed repeatedly. But the old Lapu-Lapu was different. He immediately noticed problems. The breathing pattern was inefficient. The Kai circulation path was poorly designed. The technique wasted energy. It depended too heavily on the natural flow of Kai. Lapu-Lapu frowned. Who designed this? He stopped. Then realized probably nobody. The technique had been passed down through generations. It had never been properly analyzed. It was simply accepted. Lapu-Lapu smiled. That's the problem. He began experimenting. Instead of following the technique exactly, he changed the breathing pattern. He adjusted the timing. He changed the Kai circulation route. Then he tried again. Kai entered his body. It moved through his meridians. Slowly, painfully. Then it reached the strange energy inside his chest. Lapu-Lapu immediately stopped. The energy reacted. A faint blue light appeared. He opened his eyes. Again. He tried. The same result. Kai entered. The strange energy reacted. Then the Kai disappeared. Lapu-Lapu frowned. He had already suspected this. The energy inside his body was absorbing Kai. But why? He needed to understand. He sat down. Then began analyzing the problem. His body was a system. The Kai was energy. The meridians were pathways. The Danshin was storage. The strange energy was an unknown variable. Lapu-Lapu thought like an engineer. If he wanted to understand a machine, he would measure every component. If he wanted to understand his body, he needed the same approach. The problem was he had no instruments. His previous Kai measuring device had exploded, so he needed a better one. Lapu-Lapu stood. Tomorrow. He looked toward Cardo's workshop. We build again. The next morning Cardo woke to a loud banging sound. Clang, clang, clang. He opened his eyes. What is that? Clang, clang. Cardo immediately jumped out of bed. He grabbed his weapon. Then ran toward the workshop. He stopped. Lapu-Lapu was standing inside, holding a hammer. Cardo stared. What are you doing? Lapu-Lapu looked up. Good morning. Cardo's eyes narrowed. It's 6 in the morning. Exactly. Why are you here? I needed tools. You could have asked. I did. When? Yesterday. Cardo stared. You said you would come back. Yes. You didn't say 6 in the morning. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Now you know. Cardo sighed. What are you building? Lapu-Lapu pointed toward the table. Several metal components were arranged there. Cardo frowned. That? Yes. Isn't that the same machine? No. It looks the same. It's completely different. How? Lapu-Lapu picked up a component. The first version measured Kai. Cardo nodded. And this? Measures Kai. Lapu-Lapu placed the component down. And energy. Cardo frowned. What's the difference? Everything. Lapu-Lapu began assembling the device. This machine doesn't just measure how much Kai enters my body. It measures where it goes. Cardo's eyes widened. Can it do that? It will. How? Lapu-Lapu pointed toward a crystal. Multiple sensors. Then another. Energy resonance. Then another. Directional flow. Cardo stared. You built all of that? Not yet. Then what are you doing? Building it. Cardo shook his head. You make my head hurt. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Good. Why? That means you're thinking. Cardo walked away. I'll leave you to it. Lapu-Lapu continued. For the next 5 days the workshop never stopped. Metal was heated. Crystals were cut. Wires were connected. Mechanical parts were assembled. Cardo worked. Lapu-Lapu designed. The two men slowly created something completely new. It was no longer a simple Kai measuring device. It was a machine. A real machine. Powered by Kai. And designed to analyze Kai. Lapu-Lapu called it the Kai resonance engine. The machine stood nearly 1 meter tall. It had a circular metal frame. At its center floated a crystal. 4 mechanical arms surrounded it. Each arm contained a sensor. The entire device was connected to a series of rotating rings. Cardo stared at the finished machine. That's impressive. Lapu-Lapu smiled. It's ugly. Cardo frowned. What? Look at it. Lapu-Lapu pointed. The alignment is terrible. Cardo stared. It looks fine. It's not. Nobody cares. I care. Cardo sighed. Of course you do. Lapu-Lapu activated the machine. The crystal began glowing. The rings rotated. The sensors activated. A faint humming sound filled the workshop. Lapu-Lapu stepped forward. Let's test it. Cardo immediately moved away. Why are you backing away? Because your machines explode. Not all of them. Most of them. That's an exaggeration. The last one exploded. That's one. The one before that. Two. And the one before that. Lapu-Lapu paused. That was a prototype. Cardo stared. Exactly. Lapu-Lapu ignored him. He placed his hand near the crystal. The machine activated. Kai entered. The first sensor reacted. The second. Then the third. Lapu-Lapu closed his eyes. He could feel the energy moving. This time he could see it. The machine displayed the Kai flow. The energy entered his body, traveled through his meridians. Then it reached his chest. Lapu-Lapu stared at the readings. Interesting. Cardo stepped closer. What? Look. The machine displayed the energy flow. A small amount of Kai entered the body. Then the strange energy absorbed it. Cardo frowned. So? Lapu-Lapu pointed. Look at the pattern. Cardo stared. I don't see anything. Exactly. What? The energy isn't absorbing Kai randomly. Lapu-Lapu adjusted the machine. The display changed. The pattern became clearer. The strange energy was collecting Kai. Then it was sending it somewhere. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. Where is it going? The machine followed the energy. Down. Deeper. Past the chest. Past the dantian. Into something hidden. The machine suddenly began shaking. Cardo stepped backward. Oh no. Lapu-Lapu ignored him. The display changed. A three-dimensional image appeared. Lapu-Lapu's internal energy network. His meridians. His organs. His dantian. And a tiny structure. Deep inside his body. Cardo stared. What is that? Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. He couldn't. The structure was impossible. It wasn't biological. It wasn't mechanical. But it contained both characteristics. It was a small sphere. A black sphere. Lapu-Lapu froze. No. Cardo looked at him. What? Lapu-Lapu stepped closer. The image rotated. The tiny sphere was covered in patterns. Mechanical patterns. The same patterns as the black sphere. The same patterns as his machine. The same patterns as the mysterious symbol. Lapu-Lapu whispered. It's inside me. Cardo stared. What? Lapu-Lapu looked at him. The black sphere. Cardo immediately stepped away. That's impossible. Apparently not. How did it get there? I don't know. How do we remove it? We don't. Cardo froze. What? Lapu-Lapu stared at the image. Not yet. Why? Because I need to understand it. Cardo shook his head. You really are crazy. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Probably. Suddenly the machine changed. A warning appeared. Lapu-Lapu immediately noticed. What's that? The Kai resonance engine began producing a strange sound. Cardo looked nervous. Is it going to explode? No. Are you sure? Probably. Cardo immediately moved toward the door. Lapu-Lapu grabbed him. Wait. The machine activated. A signal appeared. Lapu-Lapu froze. It was the same signal. The one from the mountain. The one from the black sphere. But this time it was stronger. Much stronger. Lapu-Lapu stared. The machine was communicating. Cardo looked confused. What is it doing? Lapu-Lapu listened. The signal changed. A series of numbers appeared. Lapu-Lapu recognized them. They were coordinates. But not ordinary coordinates. They were dimensional coordinates. He immediately began calculating. Where does it point? Cardo asked. Lapu-Lapu looked at the numbers. His expression changed. The mountain. Cardo frowned. We just came from there. Not the entrance. Then where? Deeper. Cardo stared. How deep? Lapu-Lapu calculated. About 12 kilometers. Cardo's eyes widened. 12? Yes. Underground? Yes. Cardo shook his head. That's impossible. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Apparently not. The machine continued transmitting. Then a second signal appeared. Lapu-Lapu froze. This one was different. It wasn't coming from the mountain. It wasn't coming from the black sphere. It was coming from somewhere else. Far away. Very far away. The signal was weak. But Lapu-Lapu recognized the pattern. It was an earth signal. His hands began shaking. Cardo noticed. What is it? Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. He stared at the machine. The signal contained something. A message. Only 3 words. But they were enough. Lapu-Lapu read them. We remember you. His heart stopped. The workshop became silent. Cardo stared. What does that mean? Lapu-Lapu couldn't speak. The message appeared again. We remember you. Then another. We are waiting. Lapu-Lapu closed his eyes. He suddenly remembered his old life. His workshop. The machine. His research. His obsession with energy. He remembered something. Something he had forgotten. 1 week before his death he had received a strange signal. He had thought it was interference. He had ignored it. But now he realized. It had been the same signal. The same pattern. The same message. Lapu-Lapu whispered. It was calling me. Cardo stared. What? The machine? What about it? It wasn't an accident. Lapu-Lapu looked at the black sphere's image. It was a beacon. Cardo became silent. A beacon for what? Lapu-Lapu stared at the message. We don't know. Who sent it? I don't know. Why you? Lapu-Lapu looked at his chest. The tiny black sphere pulsed. Once. Twice. Then a 3rd time. Lapu-Lapu suddenly felt something. A connection. His consciousness expanded. For a moment he was no longer inside the workshop. He was somewhere else. He saw a massive city. A city built around a gigantic energy core. Cultivators walked beside machines. Mechanical warriors trained. Flying vehicles moved through the sky. Kai flowed through enormous towers. And at the center was a massive structure. An enormous machine. Its design was familiar. It was based on his invention. Lapu-Lapu froze. No, the vision continued. He saw a man. An old man. Standing before the machine. Lapu-Lapu couldn't see his face. But he heard his voice. One day we will return. The vision disappeared. Lapu-Lapu opened his eyes. Cardo was staring at him. Lapu-Lapu? The young man breathed heavily. I saw something. What? A city. Where? I don't know. Who was there? Lapu-Lapu shook his head. Someone like me. Cardo frowned. What does that mean? Lapu-Lapu stared at the machine. It means he slowly smiled. I'm not the first. Silence. Cardo didn't understand. Lapu-Lapu continued. Someone built this before. The machine? The technology. The combination of Kai and machinery. Cardo stared. Lapu-Lapu's eyes became determined. And if they existed then I can find them. Cardo looked worried. Where? Lapu-Lapu pointed toward the mountain. Below. Cardo sighed. Of course. Lapu-Lapu shut down the machine. We go tomorrow. Why not today? Because we need supplies. How many? Lapu-Lapu thought. Food. Water. Tools. Metal. Crystals. Weapons. Cardo nodded. Anything else? Lapu-Lapu looked at the machine. Something to carry this. Cardo stared. You want to bring it? Yes. Why? Because it's our only way to understand what we're dealing with. Cardo thought about it. Then sighed. Fine. Lapu-Lapu smiled. But before they could leave the workshop door opened. Elder Marta stood there. Her expression was serious. Lapu-Lapu froze. Mara? The old woman looked at the machine. Then at Cardo. Then back at Lapu-Lapu. What are you doing? Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. Elder Marta stepped closer. She stared at the Kai resonance engine. Then her expression changed. Fear. Real fear. Lapu-Lapu immediately noticed. You know something? Elder Marta looked at him. What? That machine. She shook her head. No. You lying. Lapu-Lapu tell me. The old woman became silent. Lapu-Lapu stepped closer. You've seen something like this before. Elder Mara's eyes widened. Lapu-Lapu knew. He had found something. A connection. A secret. Something the tribe had hidden. Elder Mara whispered. Your father? Lapu-Lapu froze. My father? Yes. What about him? He built something. Lapu-Lapu's heart raced. What? Elder Marta looked toward the mountains. Your father wasn't a hunter. Silence. Lapu-Lapu stared. He was an engineer. The word struck him. Engineer. Like him. Elder Marta continued. He studied the mountains. He studied the crystals. He believed the tribe had forgotten something. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. What happened to him? Elder Marta looked down. He went into the mountain. When? 16 years ago. Lapu-Lapu froze. The original Lapu-Lapu had been born around that time. Elder Marta continued. He never returned. Lapu-Lapu stared. Then my mother? She went looking for him. Silence. She never returned either. Lapu-Lapu slowly understood. His parents had not died in an accident. They had disappeared. Inside the mountain. The same mountain containing the black sphere. The same mountain connected to the mysterious civilization. Lapu-Lapu looked at the machine. His expression became cold. Why didn't you tell me? Elder Marta shook her head. You were too young. I'm 16. Exactly. Lapu-Lapu stared. You knew. Elder Mara's eyes filled with sadness. I knew enough to be afraid. Lapu-Lapu looked toward the mountain. The pieces were beginning to connect. His parents. The mountain. The black sphere. The machine. The strange energy. Earth. His reincarnation. Everything. He had believed his new life was an accident. Perhaps it wasn't. Lapu-Lapu turned toward the door. Elder Marta grabbed his arm. Don't go. Lapu-Lapu looked at her. I have to. No. Mara. I lost your parents. Her voice trembled. I won't lose you too. Lapu-Lapu became silent. For a moment he saw the old woman differently. Not as a stranger. Not as someone from the original boy's memories. But as family. He gently placed his hand over hers. I'll come back. You can't promise that. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Then I'll make it happen. Elder Mara stared. Lapu-Lapu looks toward the mountain. Because I still have something to do. What? He looked at the sky. Go home. Elder Mara didn't understand. Lapu-Lapu did. He had two homes now. This world and Earth. And somehow he would find a way to protect both. That night Lapu-Lapu returned to the mountain. Not alone. Cardo came with him. Elder Mara stayed behind. The two men stood before the entrance. Lapu-Lapu carried the Kai resonance engine. Cardo carried weapons and supplies. The black sphere's signal was stronger now. Lapu-Lapu activated the machine. The mountain responded. The stone entrance opened. This time the two did not hesitate. They entered. The door closed behind them. The deeper they walked, the stronger the signal became. Then the tunnel ended. But this time there was no door. Instead there was a staircase. Descending. Deep underground. Lapu-Lapu looked down. The stairs disappeared into darkness. Cardo swallowed. How far? Lapu-Lapu activated the detector. The needle moved. Then it broke. Cardo stared. What does that mean? Lapu-Lapu smiled. It means he stepped onto the first stair. We're going somewhere interesting. They began descending. One step. Then another. Then another. The deeper they went, the more the world changed. The walls became metallic. The air became warmer. Kai became denser. The mechanical signal became stronger. Then after nearly an hour they reached the bottom. Lapu-Lapu stopped. Before them was a city. An underground city. Massive. Ancient. And completely silent. Cardo stared. Lapu-Lapu couldn't speak. Buildings rose from the cavern floor. Machines covered the streets. Kai reactors glowed. Mechanical structures stretched across the ceiling. And at the center was a massive tower. Lapu-Lapu looked at it. His heart began beating faster. The tower was identical to the one he had seen in his vision. The city had been waiting. For 16 years. Perhaps longer. Lapu-Lapu stepped forward. Then the entire city awakened. Lights appeared. Machines activated. Kai began flowing. A massive voice echoed through the underground chamber. Origin world connection detected. Lapu-Lapu froze. The voice continued. Genetic identification. Soul identification. Technological signature. All match. Cardo stared. Match what? The voice answered. The first architect. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. Who is that? The city responded. You. Silence. Lapu-Lapu stared at the ancient city. He had come searching for answers. But instead he had found another mystery. And deep, beneath the stone river tribe, the civilization of Kai and technology had finally awakened. Chapter 6. The city of the first architect. The word echoed through the underground city. You. Lapu-Lapu stood completely still. The ancient machines surrounding him continued to awaken. One by one lights appeared across the massive underground civilization. Buildings that had remained dark for centuries suddenly illuminated. Energy flowed through enormous pipes. Crystals began glowing. Mechanical structures moved. Somewhere in the distance a massive engine started. The sound traveled through the cavern like thunder. Cardo slowly lowered his weapon. He stared at Lapu-Lapu. First architect? Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. His mind was racing. The city had identified him. Not by his name. Not by his face. But through three things. Genetics. Soul. Technology. The combination was impossible. Yet the machine had confirmed it. Lapu-Lapu looked toward the massive city. Who built this place? The ancient system answered. The first architect. Lapu-Lapu frowned. Who was the first architect? You. Lapu-Lapu shook his head. No. The system remained silent. Lapu-Lapu stepped forward. That's impossible. Negative. I was born on Earth. Confirmed. I lived 60 years. Confirmed. I built a machine. Confirmed. I died. Confirmed. I was reborn here. Confirmed. Lapu-Lapu's eyes narrowed. Then explain how I built this city. The system paused. For the first time it didn't immediately answer. Cardo noticed. Why did it stop? Lapu-Lapu stared at the city. Because it doesn't know? The system finally responded. Information incomplete. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. You don't know? Negative. Then why do you call me the first architect? Identification protocol. Based on what? The system answered. Original creator signature. Lapu-Lapu froze. Original creator? Confirmed. Of this city. Confirmed. Lapu-Lapu looked around. The massive civilization. The machines. The Kai reactors. The ancient technology. Everything. He had supposedly created it. But he had never seen it before. Lapu-Lapu slowly walked forward. Show me. The system responded. Access granted. Suddenly the entire city came alive. A massive holographic display appeared above them. The history of the city began playing. Lapu-Lapu watched. Thousands of years ago a civilization had existed beneath the mountain. They had mastered Kai. They had mastered technology. But they had not combined them. At least not at first. Then someone appeared. A man. Lapu-Lapu couldn't see his face. The man stood before a group of scientists, engineers, cultivators, warriors. He held a strange device. The same device Lapu-Lapu had seen in his vision. The Kai resonance engine. The man placed it on a table. Then he activated it. Kai entered. Technology responded. The two energies combined. A new energy system was born. The city changed. Machines became stronger. Cultivators became faster. Weapons became more powerful. Medicine improved. Transportation evolved. Civilization expanded. The man became known as the first architect. Lapu-Lapu stared. That's my machine. Cardo looked at him. Are you sure? Yes. How? I built the same design. Cardo frowned. Maybe you saw it before. Lapu-Lapu shook his head. No. Then? Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. The hologram continued. The first architect built machines, cities, weapons, ships, energy systems. He created a civilization where cultivation and technology became one. But eventually the civilization reached the stars. The hologram showed enormous ships, massive cities floating in space, planets covered in energy networks, Kai reactors powered entire worlds. Lapu-Lapu stared. This the first architect had created something beyond anything Earth had ever achieved. Then the hologram changed. War. Lapu-Lapu's expression became serious. Something had attacked the civilization. The attackers were unknown. Their appearance was hidden. Only shadows remained. But their technology was terrifying. The civilization fought. For centuries. The war spread across galaxies. Entire worlds disappeared. The first architect built weapons. Weapons capable of destroying planets. But even those weapons weren't enough. Then the first architect built something else. A machine. The black sphere. Lapu-Lapu froze. The machine appeared on the hologram. It was identical to the one beneath the mountain. Cardo stared. What is that? Lapu-Lapu answered. A gateway. The hologram showed the black sphere opening. A massive energy field appeared. The first architect stood before it. Then he entered. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. The system spoke. The first architect disappeared. Lapu-Lapu immediately asked. Where? Unknown. Why? Unknown. When? Unknown. Lapu-Lapu frowned. Then how do you know I'm him? Creator signature. That's not enough. Soul signature. Lapu-Lapu froze. How can you identify a soul? The system answered. The first architect designed the system. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. He suddenly understood. The first architect had built the identification system. He had designed the machines. He had created the city. He had programmed the system. And somehow Lapu-Lapu was recognized as him. But that raised an even bigger question. Was he really the first architect? Or was someone trying to make him believe he was? Lapu-Lapu looked at the hologram. Show me the face. The image changed. The first architect turned. His face slowly became visible. Lapu-Lapu stared. His heart stopped. The man looked exactly like him. Not the young Lapu-Lapu. Not the old Lapu-Lapu. But both. The same eyes. The same expression. The same face. Lapu-Lapu stepped backward. Cardo immediately noticed. What? Lapu-Lapu couldn't answer. The first architect looked exactly like him. It was impossible. Cardo stared at the hologram. That's you. Lapu-Lapu nodded. Yes. How? I don't know. The system continued. First architect identified. Lapu-Lapu turned. Stop calling me that. Negative. Why? Identification confirmed. Then change it. Unable. Why? Creator authority required. Lapu-Lapu froze. Creator authority? Confirmed. How do I access it? Authorization required. From whom? The system answered. The first architect. Lapu-Lapu stared. That's me. Confirmed. Then authorize me. Identification incomplete. Lapu-Lapu's eyes narrowed. What is missing? The core. Lapu-Lapu touched his chest. The strange energy inside him pulsed. Cardo immediately noticed. Your chest. Lapu-Lapu nodded. The black sphere. The system responded. Negative. Lapu-Lapu froze. What? The core is not the black sphere. Then what is it? Unknown. Lapu-Lapu's eyes narrowed. You're telling me you don't know? Confirmed. Then why did you say I need it? Creator authority. Lapu-Lapu sighed. The machine was becoming frustrating. He looked around the city. Show me the city. The system responded. Access granted. The underground civilization expanded before them. A map appeared. Lapu-Lapu saw the entire structure. The city was enormous. It wasn't just a city. It was a complete underground civilization. There were residential areas, research laboratories, factories, training grounds, energy plants, medical facilities, weapons facilities, and a massive central tower. Lapu-Lapu pointed. What's that? Core facility. What does it do? Control. Control what? All. Lapu-Lapu stared. Can I access it? Access denied. Why? Creator authority required. Lapu-Lapu sighed. Of course. Cardo stepped forward. Maybe we should leave. Lapu-Lapu looked at him. Why? Because this place is clearly dangerous. Everything is dangerous. That's not reassuring. Lapu-Lapu smiled. We're staying. Cardo sighed. I knew you would say that. They began exploring. The city was enormous. Lapu-Lapu quickly realized something. It wasn't abandoned. Not completely. The machines were still functioning. The energy systems were still active. The city had been sleeping, waiting for someone. Lapu-Lapu, or the first architect. They entered the first building. It was a laboratory. Dust covered everything, but the machines were intact. Lapu-Lapu immediately became excited. He had found what he needed. Technology. He approached a console. The moment he touched it, the system activated. Creator identified. Lapu-Lapu frowned. Stop. Command? Don't call me that. Negative. Fine. Lapu-Lapu examined the console. The interface was unfamiliar, but not completely. He recognized the logic, the architecture, the programming structure. It was similar to the systems he had designed on Earth, but far more advanced. Lapu-Lapu began accessing the database. Cardo watched. What are you doing? Learning. Learning what? Everything. Lapu-Lapu began downloading information. Kai engineering, energy systems, mechanical cultivation, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, advanced materials, space travel, dimensional physics, planetary engineering. The amount of information was overwhelming. Lapu-Lapu's mind struggled to process it. But he didn't stop. He kept reading. Hours passed. Then days. Lapu-Lapu barely slept. He studied, experimented, built. Cardo watched in amazement. The boy was becoming obsessed. But this wasn't the obsession of madness. It was the obsession of discovery. Every day Lapu-Lapu learned something new. He discovered that Kai could be converted into electricity. Electricity could be converted into Kai. The two systems could be combined. Energy could be stored in crystals. Crystals could be used as power sources. Mechanical devices could amplify Kai. Kai could enhance machines. Machines could enhance cultivation. The possibilities were endless. Lapu-Lapu began designing. He created a new device. A small metal bracelet. Cardo watched. What does it do? Lapu-Lapu placed it on his arm. Amplifies Kai. How? Technology. Cardo sighed. That's not an explanation. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Watch. He activated the bracelet. Kai entered. The bracelet responded. A mechanical ring rotated around his wrist. His Kai output increased. Cardo's eyes widened. You just increased your power. By about 30%. 30? Yes. That's impossible. Lapu-Lapu smiled. You're saying that too often. Cardo stared. Lapu-Lapu looked at the bracelet. But it's inefficient. Why? Too much energy loss. Can you fix it? Yes. How long? Lapu-Lapu thought. 3 days. Cardo laughed. You're insane. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Probably. He continued. The bracelet was only the beginning. Lapu-Lapu created more. A Kai-powered hammer. A mechanical armor system. A crystal-powered lamp. A Kai energy battery. A mechanical training device. Every invention improved. The combination of cultivation and technology was becoming real. The first mechanical cultivator was born, Lapu-Lapu. But there was still one problem. His cultivation. His body remained weak. Despite all his inventions, he still couldn't cultivate normally. The strange core inside him absorbed everything. Lapu-Lapu needed to understand it. So he returned to the central laboratory. The Kai resonance engine was activated. He connected it to the city's main system. Cardo immediately became nervous. Are you sure? No, that's not reassuring. Lapu-Lapu ignored him. He activated the machine. Energy flooded into his body. Kai. Electricity. Mechanical energy. The strange core reacted. The city shook. Cardo grabbed the wall. Lapu-Lapu. I'm fine. The energy increased. The core began glowing. Lapu-Lapu screamed. Pain exploded through his body. His meridians burned. His bones cracked. His muscles tightened. The energy continued. Stop. Cardo shouted. Lapu-Lapu refused. More. You're going to die. More. The city responded. Energy surged. Lapu-Lapu's body shook. Then something changed. His damaged meridians began repairing themselves. One by one, the broken pathways reconnected. His denshin expanded. Kai began flowing. The strange core stopped absorbing energy. Instead it began producing it. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. Impossible. A massive amount of Kai exploded from his body. Cardo was thrown backward. The entire laboratory shook. Lapu-Lapu remained standing. His body was surrounded by blue energy. He could feel it. Power. Real power. His cultivation had finally begun. The city announced. Foundation established. Lapu-Lapu froze. Foundation? The system continued. First cultivation stage. Lapu-Lapu looked at his hands. He had done it. After years of failure, he had finally entered the first stage of cultivation. But something was wrong. The system continued. Error. 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 Lapu-Lapu frowned. What? The system repeated. Foundation stage. Unstable. Unknown energy core detected. Lapu-Lapu's expression changed. The strange core inside his body began changing. It was evolving, growing, transforming. The energy became stronger. The city suddenly went dark. All machines stopped. Cardo stared. What happened? Lapu-Lapu looked around. The entire underground city had shut down. Then the central tower activated. A red light appeared. The system spoke. Warning. Warning. Unknown entity detected. Lapu-Lapu froze. Where? Origin world. His eyes widened. Earth. Confirmed. Cardo stared. What is happening? Lapu-Lapu looked at the giant holographic map. Earth appeared. Then a second signal appeared. Something was approaching. From outside the planet. Something massive. Something mechanical. The system announced. Hostile fleet detected. Lapu-Lapu's expression became serious. How long? Unknown. Estimate. The system calculated. Then answered. 3 years. Silence. Cardo stared. 3 years until what? Lapu-Lapu looked at the map. The answer appeared. Arrival of the enemy. Lapu-Lapu's eyes narrowed. Earth was in danger. His home. The blue planet. And he was trapped in another world. He had only 3 years. 3 years to cultivate. 3 years to build. 3 years to understand the technology. 3 years to unlock the path home. Lapu-Lapu clenched his fists. He looked at the ancient city, then at the machines, then at the strange core inside his body. He smiled. 3 years. That was enough. He had built an empire from nothing once. He could do it again. But this time he wouldn't build an empire of ordinary machines. He would build something greater. A civilization where cultivation and technology became one. A civilization capable of defending Earth. And if necessary, he would become the Iron Emperor himself. Lapu-Lapu looks toward the distant ceiling. Beyond it was the surface. Beyond the surface was the world. And somewhere beyond the stars was Earth. The blue planet. His home. His journey had changed. He was no longer simply trying to survive. He was preparing for war. And before he could return home, he would need to become strong enough to protect it. The machines of the ancient city began awakening again. One by one. The lights returned. The Kai reactors activated. The factories started moving. The sleeping civilization had found its master. But Lapu-Lapu knew something. The city was not enough. He needed people. Cultivators. Engineers. Blacksmiths. Scientists. Warriors. He needed an army. But more importantly, he needed a new generation. A generation that understood both Kai and technology. Lapu-Lapu looked at Cardo. Cardo. The blacksmith looked exhausted. What? How many blacksmiths are in the tribe? Cardo frowned. Why? How many? About 20. Good. Why? Lapu-Lapu smiled. Tomorrow he looked at the ancient machines. We start teaching them. Teaching them what? Lapu-Lapu's eyes shone. How to build the future. Deep inside the mountain the ancient city awakened. And far away beyond dimensions the enemy fleet continued moving. The countdown had begun. 3 years. 3 years before the enemy reached Earth. 3 years before Lapu-Lapu would be forced to make a choice. Return home or remain in this world and prepare for war. But Lapu-Lapu already knew the answer. He would return, no matter what it took. The blue planet was waiting. Chapter 7 The first mechanical cultivation forge the underground city had awakened. But Lapu-Lapu knew that awakening the city was only the beginning. The machines could function. The energy reactors could operate. The ancient databases contained knowledge beyond anything the Stone River tribe had ever imagined. Yet a civilization was not built from machines alone. It needed people. It needed knowledge. It needed workers. It needed cultivators. And most importantly, it needed someone who understood both worlds. Lapu-Lapu stood at the center of the ancient city. Above him, enormous mechanical structures rotated slowly. Blue kai flowed through transparent pipes. Crystals pulsed with energy. Mechanical arms moved along the walls. The ancient city had once been a place where technology and cultivation existed as one. Now it was waiting for him to rebuild it. Cardo stood beside him. The blacksmith looked around. I still don't understand how you plan to explain this to the tribe. Lapu-Lapu turned. Explain what? Everything. Cardo pointed around. The city. The machines. The crystals. The fact that you can suddenly cultivate. And the fact that you somehow activated an ancient civilization. Lapu-Lapu thought for a moment. That's a good question. Cardo stared. Well, I'll figure it out. Cardo closed his eyes. Of course. Lapu-Lapu smiled. But there's something more important. What? Training. Cardo looked confused. Training who? Lapu-Lapu pointed upward. The tribe. Cardo stared. You're going to teach them this? Not everything. Why? Because they aren't ready. Cardo frowned. Then what are you going to teach them? Lapu-Lapu looked toward the massive machines. The foundation. The foundation of what? A new cultivation system. Cardo became serious. You're creating your own cultivation technique? Yes. Can you do that? Lapu-Lapu smiled. Why not? Cardo stared. Because you're only 16. Lapu-Lapu paused. Then remembered. Right. Cardo pointed at him. You're supposed to be 16. Lapu-Lapu coughed. I have experience. From where? Lapu-Lapu smiled. Long story. Cardo shook his head. I don't want to know. Lapu-Lapu walked toward the central laboratory. The two entered. The Kai resonance engine stood in the center. But it had changed. Lapu-Lapu had connected it to the city's main energy system. The machine was no longer just a measuring device. It had become a laboratory. A system capable of analyzing Kai. Lapu-Lapu approached. Activate. The machine responded. The crystal core glowed. A holographic display appeared. Lapu-Lapu began working. He studied the tribe's cultivation technique. The system analyzed it. The results appeared. Efficiency, 23%. Energy loss, 77%. Lapu-Lapu frowned. Terrible. Cardo looked at the display. What? Look. Cardo stared. What does it mean? Their cultivation method wastes most of the Kai they absorb. Cardo's eyes widened. Most? Yes. How much? 77%. Cardo looked shocked. That's impossible. No. Lapu-Lapu pointed toward the display. It's inefficient. But generations of cultivators have used it. That doesn't make it good. Cardo was silent. Lapu-Lapu continued. This technique depends on natural Kai flow. What's wrong with that? Nothing. Lapu-Lapu changed the display. But it limits the cultivator. How? Because the human body is treated like a container. Cardo frowned. What should it be? Lapu-Lapu smiled. A machine. Cardo stared. Lapu-Lapu explained. The body has pathways. Like pipes. The danshan is a storage chamber. Like a battery. The meridians are energy channels. Like electrical circuits. Cardo slowly nodded. Lapu-Lapu continued. Then why not optimize them? Cardo's eyes widened. Lapu-Lapu turned toward the ancient database. That's what I'm going to do. For the next several days Lapu-Lapu didn't leave the laboratory. He studied. He experimented. He created models. He simulated Kai flow. He analyzed the human body. Then he began designing. The first stage was simple. Body strengthening. But instead of relying only on Kai, Lapu-Lapu designed a combination. Kai. Mechanical stimulation. Energy compression. Control pressure. The body would be trained like a machine. Every muscle. Every bone. Every organ. Everything would be strengthened. But there was one problem. The tribe didn't have the technology. So Lapu-Lapu needed to build it. He returned to the surface. Cardo followed. The Stone River tribe was busy. Hunters were preparing for another expedition. Children played near the river. Blacksmiths worked. Nobody knew what was happening beneath their feet. Lapu-Lapu walked directly toward the blacksmith's workshop. Cardo looked at him. What now? We build. Again? Yes. What? Lapu-Lapu pointed toward the furnace. Everything. Cardo stared. That's not an answer. Lapu-Lapu smiled. I need a forge. You already have one. Not like this. Cardo immediately became interested. What do you mean? I want to build a mechanical cultivation forge. Cardo frowned. What is that? A machine that uses Kai and heat to strengthen materials. Cardo's eyes widened. For weapons? Yes. Armor? Yes. Tools? Yes. Cardo smiled. Now you're speaking my language. Lapu-Lapu began drawing. He designed a new furnace. It was much larger than the previous one, but this time it had something different. A Kai chamber. A crystal core would sit beneath the furnace. Kai would flow upward. The heat would combine with the Kai. The result would create a special energy field. Lapu-Lapu called it the mechanical cultivation forge. Cardo stared at the design. This is insane. Why? Because it might actually work. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Exactly. They began building. The work was difficult. The furnace required large amounts of metal. The tribe had limited resources. So Lapu-Lapu introduced another invention. A mechanical mining drill. The tribe's miners had always used simple tools. Pickaxes. Hammers. Stone wedges. Lapu-Lapu changed everything. He designed a rotating drill. The drill used a combination of mechanical power and Kai. The first test was performed outside the village. Cardo stood beside the machine. Are you sure? Lapu-Lapu nodded. Yes. How powerful? Very. How very? Enough? Enough for what? Lapu-Lapu activated the machine. The drill began rotating. Slowly. Then faster. Then the Kai crystal activated. The drill suddenly accelerated. The machine struck the mountain. Crack. The stone broke. The drill continued. Faster. Deeper. Within minutes it had drilled several meters into the mountain. The miners stared. One of them dropped his pickaxe. What is that? Lapu-Lapu smiled. A drill. What's it for? Mining. The miner looked at the hole. That would take us a month. Lapu-Lapu nodded. Now it takes a few minutes. The miners immediately surrounded him. Questions began coming. How does it work? Who made it? Can we use it? Can it break harder stone? Lapu-Lapu looked at them. Yes. The tribe's interest was growing. Lapu-Lapu understood something. Technology alone wouldn't convince them. They needed to see results. And the results were impossible to ignore. The mechanical drill began mining. The tribe discovered more metal. More crystals. More resources. The mechanical cultivation forge was finally built. Cardo stood proudly beside it. The machine was enormous. It occupied an entire section of the workshop. The furnace burned with intense heat. The Kai crystal beneath it glowed. Mechanical rings rotated around the furnace. Lapu-Lapu activated it. The entire workshop shook. Kai flowed. Fire intensified. The furnace became incredibly hot. Cardo stared. This is Lapu-Lapu nodded. Now we can forge. Cardo immediately placed a piece of iron inside. The metal began changing. The Kai entered. The impurities separated. The material became stronger, denser, cleaner. Cardo's eyes widened. That's not ordinary iron. No. What is it? Kai-infused steel. Cardo stared. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Now he handed him a hammer. Forge it. Cardo immediately began working. The hammer struck. Clang, clang, clang. Each strike sent sparks flying, but something else happened. The Kai inside the furnace reacted to Cardo's movements. The metal became stronger. With every strike, Cardo worked for hours. Finally he finished. A sword. Simple, but beautiful. The blade was dark gray, thin, sharp. A faint blue glow ran through it. Cardo held it. He swung. The air itself seemed to split. Cardo stared. This Lapu-Lapu nodded. Kai-infused steel. Cardo looked at him. How strong? Test it. Cardo walked outside. He approached a massive stone. Then swung. Boom! The stone split. Everyone froze. The sword had cut through it. Cardo stared. The tribe stared. Lapu-Lapu smiled. That moment changed everything. The people had seen cultivation. They had seen martial arts. But this was different. Technology had created a weapon capable of enhancing cultivation. The blacksmiths immediately became interested. The warriors became interested. The hunters became interested. The elders became interested. Lapu-Lapu had created something new. A weapon that wasn't simply forged. It was cultivated. The tribe's first mechanical cultivation forge had been born. But Lapu-Lapu wasn't finished. He turned toward the warriors. I can make better weapons. The warriors listened. I can make better armor. They listened. I can make machines that enhance your cultivation. Now everyone was listening. Lapu-Lapu looked around. But you must learn something first. The crowd became silent. Technology is not a replacement for cultivation. He pointed toward the sword. And cultivation is not a replacement for technology. He held up the weapon. They are different systems. Then he brought them together. When combined, Lapu-Lapu smiled. They become something greater. The tribe didn't fully understand, but they understood the result. A sword, a machine, a stronger future. Lapu-Lapu began training the first group, 10 warriors, 5 blacksmiths, 3 miners, 2 hunters, and Cardo. They became the first students of the new system. The mechanical cultivation path. The first lesson was simple. Kai control. The warriors learned how to circulate Kai. The blacksmiths learned how Kai affected materials. The miners learned how to use Kai-powered machines. The hunters learned how to combine movement with mechanical equipment. And Cardo learned everything. He became Lapu-Lapu's first true disciple. The training was difficult. The tribe's warriors were strong, but they were used to traditional cultivation. Lapu-Lapu changed everything. He made them train with machines, run while wearing mechanical weights, strike reinforced targets, control Kai while operating machinery. The results were immediate. Their bodies became stronger. Their Kai became more controlled. Their reaction speed improved. Their endurance increased. The warriors were amazed. One of them asked, "How is this possible?" Lapu-Lapu answered, "Because your body is learning." Learning what? Efficiency. The warrior didn't understand. Lapu-Lapu smiled. "You've spent years using Kai, but you never measured it." The warrior became silent. Lapu-Lapu continued, "Now we measure everything." The Kai resonance engine became the center of training. Every student was tested. Every result recorded. Every weakness analyzed. Every improvement documented. Lapu-Lapu created charts, numbers, graphs, data. The tribe had never seen anything like it. Cultivation had become measurable. For the first time, the people could see their progress. And because they could measure it, they could improve it. Weeks passed. The first results were extraordinary. Cardo's strength doubled. The warriors became faster. The blacksmiths produced stronger weapons. The miners discovered new crystal deposits. The tribe's entire production increased. But Lapu-Lapu noticed something. The mechanical cultivation path had a limitation. The machines required energy. The energy came from crystals, and the crystals were limited. Lapu-Lapu needed a better solution. He returned to the underground city. He accessed the ancient database. He searched energy, power, Kai, storage. Then he found something. A technology called the Kai reactor. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. This was different from the city's existing reactors. The ancient civilization had used enormous reactors. Lapu-Lapu wanted something smaller, something portable, something that could be built with local resources. He began designing a miniature Kai reactor. The device was small, only the size of a barrel, but it could absorb Kai from the environment, store it, convert it, and distribute it. Lapu-Lapu built the prototype. Cardo watched. "Will it work?" Lapu-Lapu nodded. "Probably." Cardo immediately stepped back. "Why do you always say probably?" "Because nothing is certain." "That's terrifying." Lapu-Lapu smiled. He activated the reactor. The crystal core began glowing. Kai entered. The machine hummed. Then it stabilized. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. It worked. The reactor was producing energy continuously. Cardo stared. "Is it infinite?" "No." "Then?" "It draws Kai from the environment." "How much?" "Depends on the area." Cardo looked around. "Can it power the entire village?" Lapu-Lapu thought. "Eventually." Cardo's eyes widened. "Then we can power everything." "Yes." "Lights?" "Yes." "Machines?" "Yes." "Forges?" "Yes." "All of it?" "Yes." Cardo smiled. The tribe was changing. But Lapu-Lapu knew they were only at the beginning. He returned to the surface. The reactor was installed. The first lights appeared. For the first time, the Stone River tribe had electricity. Children gathered around the lights. The elders stared. People touched the glowing lamps. The tribe had never experienced such technology. But Lapu-Lapu didn't stop. He built more. Water pumps, heating systems, mechanical tools, medical equipment, communication devices. The tribe slowly transformed. The Stone River tribe became the first village in the region to combine Kai and technology. But something else was happening. Lapu-Lapu's cultivation was advancing. The strange core inside his body was changing. His foundation became stronger. His body became faster. His senses became sharper. His kai became denser. But the core remained mysterious. One night Lapu-Lapu was meditating inside the ancient city. The strange core pulsed. Then a voice appeared. First architect. Lapu-Lapu opened his eyes. Again? Authorization required. For what? Access. To what? Memory. Lapu-Lapu froze. Memory? Confirmed. Whose? The system paused. Then answered. Yours. Lapu-Lapu's heart stopped. My memories? Confirmed. Why can't I remember? Memory locked. Who locked it? Silence. Lapu-Lapu waited. Finally the system answered. You. Lapu-Lapu stared. I locked my own memories? Confirmed. Why? Unknown. Lapu-Lapu became silent. He suddenly realized something. The first architect, the person he apparently was, had deliberately erased his own memories. Why? What had he been running from? What had he discovered? And what had happened to the civilization? Lapu-Lapu looked toward the central tower. Can I unlock them? Yes. How? Restore the core. Lapu-Lapu touched his chest. The strange energy pulsed. What is the core? The system answered. The key. To what? The answer came. The return path. Lapu-Lapu froze. Earth? The blue planet. His way home. The core inside his body wasn't simply a source of energy. It was a key. A key to Earth. Lapu-Lapu closed his eyes. Then he smiled. I'll restore it. But suddenly the entire city shook. Cardo's voice came through the communication device. Lapu-Lapu. What? You need to see this. Where are you? Above ground. Lapu-Lapu immediately stood. What happened? Something appeared in the sky. Lapu-Lapu's expression changed. He ran. The ancient city opened a transport gate. Lapu-Lapu stepped through. He appeared on the mountain. Cardo was standing outside. He pointed upward. Lapu-Lapu looked. His eyes widened. The sky was glowing. A massive blue formation had appeared above the Stone River tribe. It covered the entire sky. Kai was gathering. The formation was ancient. And it was activating. Lapu-Lapu immediately recognized the pattern. It was the same symbol as the black sphere. The same symbol as the ancient city. The same symbol inside his body. Then a voice echoed across the sky. First architect. Lapu-Lapu froze. The entire tribe heard it. People came out of their homes. Warriors looked upward. Elders stepped outside. Children pointed at the sky. The voice continued. The enemy has detected you. Lapu-Lapu's expression became serious. Cardo looked at him. What enemy? Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. The sky began to crack. A massive energy disturbance appeared. Then a single message appeared. 3 years remain. Lapu-Lapu stared. The countdown had begun. But this time something had changed. The message continued. Return path, 1% restored. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. 1%. The path to Earth had begun opening. He looked toward the blue planet's distant direction. He couldn't see it. But somehow he could feel it. Home. Waiting. Lapu-Lapu clenched his fists. 3 years. Cardo looked at him. What? Lapu-Lapu stared into the sky. We have 3 years. For what? Lapu-Lapu's expression became determined. To build an army. Cardo's eyes widened. Against who? Lapu-Lapu looked at the ancient symbol. The people coming for Earth. The sky darkened. The formation disappeared. Silence returned. But the message remained in Lapu-Lapu's mind. 3 years. 3 years to unlock the path. 3 years to restore his memories. 3 years to master the combination of Kai and technology. 3 years to prepare the Stone River tribe. And 3 years a return to Earth. Lapu-Lapu looked at Cardo. Tomorrow Cardo waited. Lapu-Lapu smiled. We build our first mechanical cultivation army. Far beneath the mountain the ancient city responded. Command accepted. The machines began moving. The factories activated. The Kai reactors awakened. And for the first time in thousands of years the underground civilization began manufacturing again. But this time it wasn't preparing to defend itself. It was preparing to return. To Earth. To the blue planet. And to face whatever was waiting beyond the stars. Chapter 8. The birth of the Kai-Tech civilization. The ancient city had awakened. For the first time in thousands of years, its factories were moving. The enormous mechanical arms that had once remained frozen in place began operating again. Metal plates shifted. Crystals illuminated. Energy flowed through ancient conduits. Deep beneath the Stone River mountain, a civilization that had been forgotten by history had begun breathing once more. And at the center of it all stood a 16-year-old boy. Lapu-Lapu. He stood before the central command platform, staring at the enormous holographic display floating in front of him. The map of the underground city was divided into countless sections. Research facilities, manufacturing facilities, energy production, medical laboratories, training chambers, storage vaults, transportation systems, defensive structures, and countless other facilities that Lapu-Lapu had not yet explored. The city was far larger than he had initially believed. It wasn't simply a hidden settlement. It was an entire civilization. A civilization designed to survive without the surface world. And now it had recognized him as its creator. Lapu-Lapu slowly raised his hand. System. The holographic display responded. Awaiting command. Show me the current condition of the city. A series of numbers appeared. Energy reserves. 31%. Manufacturing capacity. 8%. Defensive systems. 2%. Research systems. 43%. Population. 0. Lapu-Lapu stared at the final number. 0. The ancient civilization had no people. The machines were still alive. The energy systems were still functioning. But the people who had built everything were gone. Lapu-Lapu remained silent for several seconds. Cardo stood beside him. What's wrong? Lapu-Lapu pointed at the display. Look. Cardo read the information. Then his expression changed. There's nobody here. No. Where did they go? Lapu-Lapu shook his head. I don't know. Did they die? Maybe. Or leave. Possibly. Cardo looked around. Then why did they build all this? Lapu-Lapu stared at the ancient machines. Because they expected someone to return. Cardo became silent. Lapu-Lapu had the same thought. The city had been waiting. Waiting for the first architect. And somehow that person was him. But Lapu-Lapu still couldn't accept it. He had lived 60 years on Earth. He had been a mechanical engineer. He had built machines. He had studied energy. He had died. Then he had awakened in this world. As a 16-year-old boy, he had never remembered being the first architect. Yet the evidence continued to appear. The technology, the machines, the core, the ancient city, the system, everything recognized him. Lapu-Lapu looked at the central tower. There's something we're missing. Cardo frowned. What? The reason. The reason for what? Everything. Lapu-Lapu walked toward the central command platform. Why did the first architect disappear? Why was this city abandoned? Why was the core placed inside me? Why was I reborn here? And why he looked at the holographic map of Earth. Is there an enemy coming? Cardo had no answer. Neither did Lapu-Lapu. But one thing was certain. They didn't have time to sit around asking questions. They needed to prepare. The first step was simple. They needed people. Lapu-Lapu returned to the surface. The Stone River tribe had already begun changing. The mechanical lights he had installed had become a source of fascination. Children gathered around them. The elders watched from a distance. The blacksmiths were experimenting with the new kind fused steel. The miners were using the mechanical drilling machines. The warriors were training with their new weapons. The tribe was slowly entering a new age. But Lapu-Lapu knew something. They were still too weak. He gathered the tribe's warriors. Around 30 people stood before him. Most were experienced hunters. Some were warriors. Others were young cultivators. Cardo stood at the front. Lapu-Lapu looked at them. How many of you want to become stronger? Every hand rose. Lapu-Lapu nodded. Good. He pointed toward a large metal structure. The first mechanical cultivation platform. It looked intimidating. Metal rings surrounded a central platform. Kai crystals were embedded throughout the machine. Mechanical arms hovered around the edges. The warriors stared. One of them asked, "What is that?" Lapu-Lapu answered, "A training machine." The warrior looked nervous. "What does it do?" "Improves your cultivation." Everyone became interested. Lapu-Lapu stepped onto the platform. "Watch." He activated the machine. The Kai crystals illuminated. A field of energy surrounded his body. The machine began analyzing his cultivation. The display appeared. Foundation stage. Kai density. Body strength. Meridian efficiency. Energy circulation. Cardo stared. So it measures everything? Yes. And then? Lapu-Lapu smiled. Then it finds your weaknesses. The machine analyzed him. A series of problems appeared. Lapu-Lapu frowned. Interesting. Cardo immediately became concerned. What? My body. What about it? The core is interfering with my cultivation. The warriors didn't understand. But Cardo did. Is that bad? Not necessarily. Lapu-Lapu looked at the readings. My body is trying to cultivate normally. But the core is using a different system. What system? Lapu-Lapu stared at the readings. I don't know yet. Suddenly the machine activated. The energy field intensified. Lapu-Lapu's expression changed. Wait. Cardo stepped forward. What? Turn it off. Cardo immediately reached for the controls. But it was too late. The machine had already begun. Kai entered Lapu-Lapu's body. The energy traveled through his meridians. Instead of being absorbed by the core, the Kai was redirected. It flowed through his entire body. Muscles, bones, organs, nerves, everything. Lapu-Lapu's body began changing. His muscles tightened. His bones strengthened. His skin became harder. His senses became sharper. The foundation within his danchan became more stable. The machine was training his entire body simultaneously. Lapu-Lapu realized what was happening. Stop. The machine ignored him. System. Command. Stop the training. Negative. Why? Optimal training sequence in progress. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. Who authorized this? You. When? Previously. Lapu-Lapu froze. Again. His past self. The first architect. The man he couldn't remember. The ancient technology was following instructions he had apparently created long ago. But Lapu-Lapu didn't have time to think. His body was reaching its limit. Stop. The machine finally stopped. The energy field disappeared. Lapu-Lapu collapsed onto one knee. Cardo rushed toward him. Are you alright? Lapu-Lapu breathed heavily. Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Cardo looked at the machine. That thing almost killed you. Lapu-Lapu shook his head. No. What do you mean? It wasn't trying to kill me. Then what? It was testing me. Cardo frowned. Testing you for what? Lapu-Lapu looked at the central tower. I don't know. Then the system spoke. Training result. Lapu-Lapu looked up. Display. The information appeared. Body strength. Increased. High control. Increased. Meridian efficiency. Increased. Foundation stability. Increased. Core synchronization. 1%. Lapu-Lapu froze. Core synchronization? Confirmed. Previously? 0%. Lapu-Lapu's expression changed. The machine had done something important. It had connected his cultivation system to the mysterious core. The core was no longer simply absorbing his energy. It was beginning to synchronize with him. Lapu-Lapu immediately became excited. Again. Cardo grabbed him. No. Lapu-Lapu looked at him. Why? Because you almost died. I didn't. You almost did. Almost doesn't count. Cardo stared. You're impossible. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Probably. He stepped off the platform. Not today. Cardo relaxed. Lapu-Lapu looked at the warriors. Now it's your turn. The warriors immediately became nervous. The first warrior stepped forward. He entered the machine. Lapu-Lapu activated the system. The machine analyzed him. The results appeared. Kai circulation efficiency. 32%. Lapu-Lapu frowned. Terrible. The warrior looked embarrassed. Is that bad? Yes. Lapu-Lapu adjusted the settings. Your Kai is leaking through your meridians. The warrior looked confused. What does that mean? You are wasting energy. Lapu-Lapu placed his hand on the warrior's shoulder. Close your eyes. The warrior obeyed. Feel your Kai. The warrior began circulating. Now slow down. The warrior slowed. Again. The Kai moved. Lapu-Lapu watched the readings. Your meridians are damaged. The warrior opened his eyes. Can they be repaired? Yes. How? Lapu-Lapu pointed toward the machine. Technology. The warrior looked at the machine. Lapu-Lapu activated the medical system. A mechanical arm moved. A crystal began glowing. The machine scanned the warrior. Then a beam of energy entered his body. The warrior screamed. Cardo immediately moved forward. What's happening? Relax. Lapu-Lapu watched the readings. The energy was repairing the warrior's meridians. Slowly. Carefully. One damaged pathway at a time. The process lasted several minutes. Then the machine stopped. The warrior opened his eyes. He immediately felt the difference. His Kai was flowing smoothly. His breathing was easier. His body felt lighter. He stood. Then he punched the air. Boom! The force created a small shockwave. Everyone stepped backward. The warrior stared at his fist. My power. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Your power didn't increase. The warrior looked confused. Then? Your efficiency increased. The warrior finally understood. He had always possessed the power. He simply hadn't known how to use it. Lapu-Lapu looked at the others. That's the purpose of the mechanical cultivation path. Not to create power. To remove waste. The warriors listened carefully. Your bodies are machines. Your Kai is energy. Your meridians are circuits. Your danchan is a storage system. And your minds. Lapu-Lapu pointed toward his head. Are the control system. The warriors began understanding. Technology allows us to measure. Technology allows us to improve. Technology allows us to repair. But Lapu-Lapu's voice became serious. You still have to cultivate. The warriors nodded. The training continued. One by one they entered the machines. Their bodies were analyzed. Their Kai was measured. Their weaknesses were identified. And their cultivation was optimized. The process was slow, but the results were incredible. The tribe's warriors became stronger, not through shortcuts, not through magic, but through understanding. Lapu-Lapu was creating something new. A civilization where cultivation was treated as a science, and science was treated as a tool for cultivation. The first generation of Kai-Tech cultivators was born, but Lapu-Lapu knew they needed more. They needed weapons, armor, transportation, communication, and most importantly a power source. He returned to the ancient city. There was one technology he wanted to activate: the city's energy core, the massive reactor beneath the central tower. Lapu-Lapu entered the reactor chamber. The structure was enormous. A massive crystal floated in the center. It was larger than a house. Kai flowed through it. Energy surrounded it. Lapu-Lapu stared. The reactor was ancient, but still functional. The system activated. Core reactor. Energy output, 23%. Lapu-Lapu frowned. Why so low? Limitation. Explain. Primary energy source missing. Lapu-Lapu's eyes narrowed. What primary energy source? The heart. Lapu-Lapu froze. The heart? Confirmed. Where is it? Unknown. Lapu-Lapu thought. Could it be the core inside me? The system remained silent. Lapu-Lapu immediately understood. It was possible. The core inside his body might be connected to the ancient civilization's main reactor. Maybe the core was the missing component. But why? Why had it been placed inside him? Before Lapu-Lapu could investigate further, the reactor suddenly activated. Energy surged. The entire city shook. Lapu-Lapu stepped backward. What happened? The system responded. External signal. From where? The sky. Lapu-Lapu looked upward. A holographic image appeared. The atmosphere of the planet. The clouds. The mountains. The Stone River tribe. Then something appeared above them. A tiny object, moving extremely fast. Lapu-Lapu zoomed in. His expression changed. It was a machine. A small mechanical sphere. It was scanning the planet. Cardo's voice came through the communication system. Lapu-Lapu. I'm here. Something is flying above the village. I know. Is it yours? No. Cardo became silent. Then is it dangerous? Lapu-Lapu watched the machine. Potentially. He activated the city's sensors. The ancient system analyzed the object. Then a warning appeared. Unknown technology. Origin. Unidentified. Lapu-Lapu frowned. Can we destroy it? Yes. Do it. The ancient city activated. A massive energy weapon emerged from beneath the mountain. Lapu-Lapu stared. The weapon was enormous. He hadn't known it existed. Wait. The system paused. Lapu-Lapu looked at the scanning data. The machine in the sky wasn't attacking. It was observing. Don't destroy it. Command cancelled. Lapu-Lapu watched. The machine continued scanning. Then it turned and flew away. Lapu-Lapu immediately activated the city's tracking system. The machine disappeared from the planet's atmosphere. Then it vanished. No signal. No trace. Nothing. Lapu-Lapu stared. Cardo arrived moments later. What was that? Lapu-Lapu shook his head. An observer. Who sent it? I don't know. Could it be the enemy? Lapu-Lapu looked at the sky. Maybe. Cardo became serious. Then what do we do? Lapu-Lapu looked toward the tribe. The people were still training. The machines were still working. The Kai reactors were still running. But the enemy had found them. The countdown had begun. Lapu-Lapu returned to the central command room. He accessed the ancient database. He searched for defensive technology. The results were overwhelming. Energy shields, orbital weapons, mechanical armies, Kai-powered aircraft, battle armor, spacecraft, dimensional gates. Lapu-Lapu stared. The ancient civilization had possessed everything, but most of it was unusable. The technology was too advanced. The resources were unavailable. The systems were damaged. And there was another problem. Lapu-Lapu had only 3 years. He needed to build a civilization capable of defending itself. He needed to create a new generation of warriors. He needed to restore the ancient city. And he needed to find the core. The path to Earth was slowly opening. But the enemy was also coming. Lapu-Lapu looked at the holographic display. The map of the planet appeared. The Stone River tribe was only a small point. The ancient city was another. Beyond them was an enormous world. A world filled with other civilizations, other tribes, other cultivators, other technologies. Lapu-Lapu realized something. The Stone River tribe couldn't remain isolated. If they wanted to survive, they needed to expand. But not through conquest. Through knowledge. Through technology. Through cultivation. Lapu-Lapu smiled. He finally understood what he had to build. Not an empire. Not yet. Something more fundamental. A foundation. A civilization. A high-tech civilization. The first step was already complete. The tribe had learned. The second step was to build. Lapu-Lapu returned to the workshop. The mechanical cultivation forge was operating at full power. Cardo was working beside it. Lapu-Lapu approached. Cardo. Yes. How many weapons can we produce? Cardo thought. With the current forge? Yes. Maybe 20 per day. Not enough. Cardo stared. For what? Lapu-Lapu looked at the mountain. For the army. Cardo became silent. How many soldiers? Lapu-Lapu answered. 1,000. Cardo nearly dropped his hammer. 1,000? Yes. We don't have 1,000 warriors. I know. Then where are you going to find them? Lapu-Lapu smiled. That's the problem. He turned toward the distant horizon. Beyond the Stone River tribe were other tribes. Other civilizations. Other people. Some might possess powerful cultivation. Others might possess technology. Some might be enemies. Some might become allies. Lapu-Lapu didn't know. But he knew one thing. The Stone River tribe was only the beginning. And somewhere beyond the mountains the ancient enemy was watching. The mechanical observer had already delivered its information. The enemy now knew. The first architect had returned. And soon they would come looking for him. Deep within the ancient city a forgotten system activated. A message appeared. First architect returned. Then another. High-tech civilization reactivating. Then a final message. Enemy alert. Far beyond the planet something received the signal. A massive mechanical vessel moved through the darkness of space. Inside an unknown intelligence awakened. Its sensors focused on the planet. A single message appeared. Target located. The vessel changed direction. Its destination was now confirmed. The blue planet was not its target. Not yet. The first target was the world where the first architect had been reborn. The ancient enemy was coming. And Lapu-Lapu was not ready. Not yet. But he had begun building. The first forge was active. The first mechanical cultivators had been trained. The first Kai reactor was operating. And the ancient city had awakened. The road ahead would be long. But for the first time since his rebirth Lapu-Lapu felt something he had not felt in decades. Hope. He looked toward the night sky. Somewhere beyond those stars was Earth. The blue planet. His first home. And now he had another home to protect. Lapu-Lapu clenched his fist. 3 years. His voice was calm. That's enough time. Behind him the mechanical cultivation forge roared. The Kai reactors pulsed. The ancient machines awakened. And the Stone River tribe began its transformation. The age of ordinary cultivation was ending. The age of ordinary technology was ending. A new era was beginning. The era of Kai and technology. The era of the Iron Emperor. Chapter 9 The Mechanical Cultivation Army 3 months had passed since the ancient city awakened. The Stone River tribe had changed more in those 3 months than it had in the previous 100 years. The changes were impossible to hide. At night, glowing lamps illuminated the village. Mechanical pumps delivered clean water from the river. The blacksmiths no longer worked with simple iron. They now forged Kai-infused steel. The miners used mechanical drills. The hunters carried energy-enhanced weapons. And the warriors had become something entirely different. They were no longer ordinary cultivators. They were the first generation of mechanical cultivators. Lapu-Lapu stood on a raised platform overlooking the training grounds. Below him 100 warriors stood in formation. Every warrior wore a dark metallic armor. The armor was not heavy. It was designed to move with the body. Thin Kai channels ran across the surface. Small crystals were embedded near the shoulders, chest, and back. At the center of every warrior's chest was a small energy core. The armor responded to the wearer's Kai. When they moved, the armor moved. When they attacked, the armor amplified their strength. When they cultivated, the armor helped stabilize their Kai. Cardo stood at the front of the formation. He was now completely different from the blacksmith Lapu-Lapu had first met. His body had become stronger. His cultivation had advanced. His reaction speed had improved. And he had become the first true mechanical cultivation warrior. Cardo looks toward Lapu-Lapu. Everyone is ready. Lapu-Lapu nodded. Begin. The warriors moved. 100 people. 100 machines. 100 cultivators. They moved as one. The first group ran forward. The mechanical armor activated. Kai flowed through their bodies. The energy cores responded. Suddenly their speed increased. They crossed the training field in seconds. Lapu-Lapu watched the data. Excellent. Cardo smiled. We've been training for months. Your formation is improving. Thank you. Lapu-Lapu shook his head. Don't thank me. Why? You did the work. Cardo looked at the warriors. They wouldn't be here without you. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Then we both did the work. The warriors stopped. Lapu-Lapu raised his hand. Attack. The warriors charged toward the training targets. The first target was a massive stone pillar. The warriors surrounded it. Then they attacked. Boom! The first punch struck. Crack! The stone cracked. Another warrior attacked. Boom! The crack spread. Then 100 warriors attacked simultaneously. The entire stone pillar exploded. Pieces of stone flew in every direction. The warriors immediately activated their defensive shields. Blue energy appeared around them. The debris struck the shields. Nothing happened. The warriors stood unharmed. Lapu-Lapu watched. The system displayed the results. Attack synchronization, 94%. Energy efficiency, 87%. Formation stability, 91%. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Good. Cardo walked toward him. Good. Lapu-Lapu looked at him. Very good. Cardo laughed. You're impossible to impress. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Because I know what is possible. Cardo became serious. How far can this technology go? Lapu-Lapu looks toward the ancient city. Much farther. How much? Enough to fight an army. Cardo's expression changed. The enemy? Eventually. How strong are they? Lapu-Lapu shook his head. I don't know. Then how can we prepare? Lapu-Lapu answered calmly. We assume they're stronger. Cardo stared. That's your strategy? Yes. Why? Because if we prepare for a weak enemy, and they are strong, Lapu-Lapu looked at him. We die. Cardo nodded slowly. And if we prepare for the strongest enemy possible? Then we have a chance. Lapu-Lapu looks toward the warriors. But there is a problem. What? 100 soldiers aren't enough. Cardo sighed. I knew you would say that. We need more. How many? 1,000. Cardo stared. Again with the 1,000. Lapu-Lapu smiled. This time he pointed toward the training grounds. We're going to build them. Cardo frowned. You mean recruit? Yes. From where? Everywhere. The plan began immediately. The Stone River tribe could no longer remain isolated. Lapu-Lapu needed people. But he wasn't interested in simply collecting warriors. He needed people with different skills. Engineers, blacksmiths, cultivators, scientists, hunters, miners, healers, builders, and people willing to learn. So Lapu-Lapu built something new. A communication network. The ancient civilization had once used quantum communication. Lapu-Lapu couldn't recreate the original system. Not yet. But he could build a simpler version. The Kai communication network. Small crystal devices were installed around the tribe. Each device could transmit sound, then images, then data. The tribe was connected. For the first time people could communicate without physically traveling. Lapu-Lapu expanded the network. One village. Then another. Then another. Slowly the information spread. The Stone River tribe had changed. People began hearing stories. A weak boy had created machines. A young cultivator had built a powerful forge. A strange city had awakened beneath the mountain. Mechanical weapons were being produced. Kai-powered machines were transforming the tribe. Some people were curious. Others were afraid. But many wanted to see it. The first visitors arrived after 2 weeks. They came from a small tribe located beyond the northern forest. 20 people. They approached cautiously. The leader was an older man. His cultivation was stronger than most Stone River warriors. He looked around, then stopped. He stared at the glowing lights. What is this? Lapu-Lapu stepped forward. A village. The man frowned. Villages don't look like this. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Then perhaps we're building something new. The man looked at the machines. Who are you? Lapu-Lapu. The man's eyes widened. You? Lapu-Lapu nodded. The man looked confused. I heard you were a weak boy. I was. And now? Lapu-Lapu looked toward the training grounds. The mechanical warriors were practicing. Now he smiled. I'm still learning. The visitor stared. He didn't understand. But he could feel something. Power. Not from Lapu-Lapu alone. From the machines. The entire village seemed to be connected. The visitor looked at the mechanical drill. What is that? A mining machine. What does it do? Mine. The man looked at the mountain. How fast? Lapu-Lapu pointed. Watch. A miner activated the machine. The drill moved. Within minutes a large amount of ore was extracted. The visitor stared. His people had spent days mining the same amount. The man became interested. Can you teach us? Lapu-Lapu answered. Yes. The man was surprised. Just like that? Yes. Why? Because knowledge is useless if it isn't shared. The visitor looked at him. Then what do you want? Lapu-Lapu smiled. People. The man immediately understood. You want warriors. Not only warriors. Then? Anyone willing to learn. The man thought. Why? Lapu-Lapu looks toward the sky. Because something is coming. The man's expression changed. What? Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. Not yet. He couldn't explain everything. He didn't know enough. But he knew the enemy existed. And he knew Earth was connected. The visitor eventually agreed. He returned to his tribe. A month later they returned. Not 20 people. 200. Men. Women. Blacksmiths. Farmers. Cultivators. Hunters. Children. They came because they had heard about the new technology. Lapu-Lapu welcomed them. The Stone River tribe grew. Then another tribe came. Then another. The process continued. Lapu-Lapu didn't conquer. He didn't force anyone. He offered something. Knowledge. Technology. Training. And protection. In exchange they joined the growing civilization. The population increased. 1,000. Then 2,000. The Stone River tribe was no longer a tribe. It was becoming a city. Lapu-Lapu called it Iron River City. Cardo laughed when he heard the name. That's terrible. Lapu-Lapu frowned. Why? It sounds like a place where everything is made of iron. Lapu-Lapu nodded. Exactly. Cardo stared. That was intentional? Yes. Cardo sighed. Of course. The city expanded. The ancient city beneath the mountain became the technological heart. The surface city became the living heart. Between them Lapu-Lapu built transportation systems. Mechanical elevators. Kai-powered rail systems. Energy transport lines. The two civilizations became connected. And Lapu-Lapu became the bridge between them. But he still had one problem. The ancient city contained technology beyond their understanding. The people could use it, but they couldn't fully understand it. Lapu-Lapu needed to change that. So he created the first Kai-Tech Academy. The academy trained young people. Cultivation. Engineering. Mechanics. Energy science. Material science. Medical technology. The students learned everything. They weren't separated. A cultivator studied engineering. An engineer studied Kai. A blacksmith studied energy. A healer studied biotechnology. Lapu-Lapu wanted everyone to understand both worlds. The first class contained 100 students. Among them was a young girl named Mira. She was only 14. Her cultivation was weak, but her mind was extraordinary. During the first lesson Lapu-Lapu asked a question. What is Kai? The students answered. Energy. Power. Life force. Spiritual energy. Lapu-Lapu shook his head. All of you are wrong. The students became confused. Lapu-Lapu continued. Kai is energy. Yes. But energy is not always Kai. Understand the difference. Mira raised her hand. Lapu-Lapu noticed. Yes. She stood. Kai is a form of energy that responds to consciousness. Lapu-Lapu stopped. The other students stared. Mira continued. Electricity doesn't normally respond to thought. But Kai can. Therefore Kai isn't simply energy. It's energy with information. Silence. Lapu-Lapu stared at her. Then he smiled. Excellent. Mira sat down. Lapu-Lapu continued. That's the beginning. Kai is energy. But it is also information. That is why cultivation is possible. And that he pointed toward the machines. Is why technology can interact with it. The students finally began understanding. The Kai-Tech civilization wasn't simply combining two technologies. It was discovering that they were connected. Kai was energy. Technology manipulated energy. Therefore technology could manipulate Kai. And Kai could improve technology. The possibilities were enormous. Lapu-Lapu began experimenting. He created Kai-powered computers. The ancient civilization had possessed advanced artificial intelligence. Lapu-Lapu wanted to recreate it. The first prototype was primitive. But it worked. A small mechanical sphere. It could calculate, analyze, learn. Lapu-Lapu named it Area. Cardo hated the name. Why Area? Because it sounds good. What does it mean? Artificial resonance intelligence architecture. Cardo stared. You just made that up. Yes. Then why? Because it sounds intelligent. Cardo sighed. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Area became the first artificial intelligence of the new civilization. But there was something unusual. Area could interact with Kai. It could sense it, analyze it, even predict its movement. Lapu-Lapu immediately became interested. Area. Yes, creator. Stop calling me that. Negative. Lapu-Lapu frowned. Why? Creator identification confirmed. Fine. Cardo laughed. Lapu-Lapu ignored him. Area. Yes. Can you analyze the core? Silence. The small machine stopped. Lapu-Lapu frowned. Area? The sphere suddenly began glowing. A message appeared. Warning. Lapu-Lapu's expression changed. Why? Course signature detected. Yes. Identification. Continue. Area paused. Then the message appeared. Core type. Iron Emperor. Lapu-Lapu froze. Cardo stopped laughing. Lapu-Lapu stared. What? Area repeated. Iron Emperor. Lapu-Lapu's heart began beating faster. Explain. Insufficient data. Then why call it Iron Emperor? Original designation. Lapu-Lapu became silent. The title. The same title he had heard before. The Iron Emperor. It wasn't a nickname. It wasn't a legend. It was a designation. A title created by the first architect. For himself. Lapu-Lapu looked at the core. What does it do? Area answered. Unknown. Can it be used as an energy source? Yes. Can it open the path to Earth? Yes. Lapu-Lapu froze. Cardo immediately looked at him. What did it say? Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. Area continued. Return path. Access. 12%. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. The pathway had increased. From 1% to 12. Without him doing anything. Lapu-Lapu looked at the core. Why? Area answered. Technological development. Lapu-Lapu understood. Every time he advanced the Kai-Tech civilization, the core responded. Every invention. Every improvement. Every step forward. The path to Earth became stronger. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Then we keep building. But suddenly the entire city went dark. The lights disappeared. The machines stopped. The Kai reactor shut down. Lapu-Lapu immediately stood. Area. Warning. What happened? External signal. Lapu-Lapu accessed the city's sensors. The sky appeared. Something was approaching. Not one machine. Not one observer. Hundreds. Lapu-Lapu's expression became serious. Cardo looked at him. What is it? Lapu-Lapu stared at the holographic display. An army. The machines appeared above the planet. Massive mechanical vessels. Hundreds of them. Then thousands. The sky began filling with dark shapes. Lapu-Lapu immediately activated the city's defensive systems. The ancient weapons awakened. The mountain shook. The mechanical cultivation army gathered. 1,000 soldiers. The first true army of the Kai-Tech civilization. They stood beneath the mountain. Cardo stood at the front. Lapu-Lapu walked toward them. The warriors looked at him. Lapu-Lapu looked at the sky. Today we find out if our civilization is ready. Cardo raised his weapon. The warriors followed. 1,000 weapons activated. 1,000 energy cores glowed. 1,000 cultivators circulated Kai. The mechanical armor synchronized. The entire army became one system. Lapu-Lapu raised his hand. Defensive formation. The warriors moved. The ancient city activated. Energy shields surrounded Iron River City. The enemy fleet descended. A voice echoed across the sky. First architect. Lapu-Lapu looked upward. Identify yourself. The voice answered. You have returned. Lapu-Lapu narrowed his eyes. Who are you? Your enemy. The enemy fleet continued descending. You cannot escape. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Escape? He looked at the city. The machines. The cultivators. The Kai-Tech Academy. The people. His new civilization. Then he looked at the sky. I'm not trying to escape. Lapu-Lapu raised his hand. The mechanical army prepared. I'm preparing. The enemy fleet began charging its weapons. Lapu-Lapu's voice became cold. Welcome to the new age. The sky exploded with energy. The first battle of the Kai-Tech civilization was about to begin, and far beyond the stars a hidden signal activated. The enemy had found the first architect, but they had made one mistake. They thought they were facing the same man who had disappeared thousands of years ago. They didn't know that this time the first architect had returned with something he never possessed before. A second life, a new civilization, and a new purpose. Lapu-Lapu wasn't fighting simply to survive. He was fighting for the people who had accepted him, for the world that had become his second home, and for the blue planet the Earth he would one day return to. The Iron Emperor stood before his army, and the first war had begun. Chapter 10. The ancient enemy awakens. The sky was burning. Thousands of mechanical vessels descended from the darkness above Iron River City. Their massive silhouettes blocked the stars. For the people below it looked like the end of the world. For Lapu-Lapu it was something else. It was a test. A test of everything he had built. The first Kai-Tech civilization. The first mechanical cultivation army. The first generation of Kai-powered weapons. The first city built upon the combination of cultivation and advanced technology. Everything had been created within a few months. And now everything would be tested at once. Lapu-Lapu stood on top of the main defensive tower. The wind moved through his hair. Below him 1,000 mechanical cultivators stood in formation. Their armor was connected. Their energy cores were synchronized. Their Kai flowed through the armor's channels. Every warrior was connected to the central command network. The system displayed their status. Mechanical cultivators, 1,000. Average cultivation, foundation stage. Average Kai efficiency, 84%. Armor synchronization, 91%. Battle formation, ready. Lapu-Lapu looked at the numbers. Not perfect, but enough. Cardo approached. He was wearing the newest version of the mechanical cultivation armor. Unlike the others, his armor was different. It had been personally designed by Lapu-Lapu. The armor was called the Iron Core armor. Its main energy source was a small artificial Kai reactor. Cardo looked at Lapu-Lapu. How many? Lapu-Lapu looked at the sky. Too many. That's not a number. Approximately 3,000 vessels. Cardo's face changed. 3,000? Yes. How many soldiers? Unknown. Cardo looked at the sky. Then we're outnumbered. Lapu-Lapu nodded. Obviously. Cardo stared at him. You're not worried? Lapu-Lapu smiled. I am. Cardo looked surprised. Really? Yes. Then why are you smiling? Lapu-Lapu looked toward the army. Because I'm curious. Curious about what? Lapu-Lapu pointed toward the enemy. How strong their technology is. Cardo sighed. Of course. The sky suddenly flashed. A massive beam of energy descended. Lapu-Lapu immediately raised his hand. Shield. The entire city responded. The ancient defensive system activated. A massive blue barrier appeared above Iron River City. The energy beam struck. Boom! The entire city shook. Buildings trembled. The ground cracked. The people screamed. But the shield held. Lapu-Lapu stared at the energy readings. Interesting. Cardo looked at him. Interesting? Their weapon. What about it? Kai-based. Cardo's eyes widened. Kai? Yes. Lapu-Lapu analyzed the attack. They aren't using ordinary energy. What are they using? Compressed Kai. Lapu-Lapu smiled. They've combined cultivation with technology too. Cardo looked worried. Then they're like us? No. Lapu-Lapu shook his head. They are more advanced. Cardo became serious. How much? Lapu-Lapu examined the data. At least several thousand years. Cardo stared. Then we're doomed. No. Why? Because technology isn't everything. Lapu-Lapu looked at the army. Neither is cultivation. Cardo smiled. You always say that. Because it's true. Lapu-Lapu looked toward the sky. Their technology is better. Our understanding is better. Cardo frowned. What does that mean? They have better machines. Lapu-Lapu pointed toward the army. But we understand the relationship between Kai and technology. Cardo's eyes widened. So we can adapt. Lapu-Lapu raised his hand. All units. The army responded. Ready. Activate Phase 1. The mechanical cultivation army moved. 1,000 warriors raised their weapons. Each weapon was a Kai-Tech rifle. The rifles didn't fire bullets. They fired compressed Kai. But Lapu-Lapu had improved them. The weapons were connected to the armor. The armor was connected to the warriors. The warriors were connected to each other. The entire army became a single network. Lapu-Lapu activated the command. Fire. 1,000 weapons fired. A storm of blue energy erupted into the sky. The enemy vessels immediately activated their shields. Boom! 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 The attack struck. Most were blocked. But several enemy ships were damaged. One vessel exploded. Cardo stared. It worked. Lapu-Lapu shook his head. Not enough. Why? The shields are adapting. Lapu-Lapu watched the data. The enemy technology was learning. Each time the mechanical cultivation army fired, the enemy shields became stronger. Lapu-Lapu immediately understood. Adaptive technology. Cardo frowned. Can we break it? Yes. How? Lapu-Lapu smiled. Change the frequency. The command network activated. The weapons changed. The Kai frequency shifted. The enemy shields adjusted. Lapu-Lapu changed again. The frequency shifted. The enemy shields adapted. Again. 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 The battle became a war of adaptation. The enemy changed. Lapu-Lapu changed faster. Cardo watched. How long can we keep doing this? Lapu-Lapu looked at the energy reserves. 6 minutes. Cardo froze. 6 minutes. Until the reactors overload. And then? The army loses power. Cardo looked at the sky. That's not good. No. Then what do we do? Lapu-Lapu smiled. Phase 2. Cardo stared. You had another phase? Yes. Why didn't you tell me? You didn't ask. Cardo stared at him. You're impossible. Lapu-Lapu activated the next command. Phase 2. The mechanical cultivation army split. 500 warriors moved forward. 500 moved backward. The formation changed. The energy network separated. The enemy didn't understand. The vessels began targeting the front line. Then the rear line attacked. Boom! The enemy shields were hit from 2 directions. The adaptive systems became confused. The shields could adjust, but they couldn't adjust fast enough. The enemy vessels began falling. Lapu-Lapu smiled. Now! Cardo raised his weapon. Everyone! The mechanical cultivation army charged. The warriors launched themselves into the air. Their armor activated. Kai engines fired. 1,000 mechanical cultivators flew toward the enemy. The battle moved into the sky. Cardo was the first. His iron core armor accelerated. He struck the first enemy vessel. Boom! The armor's fist shattered the outer hull. Cardo entered the ship. Enemy machines attacked. Cardo moved. His armor enhanced his reflexes. He dodged. Blocked. Counterattacked. His Kine-fused blade cut through mechanical armor. One machine attacked from behind. Cardo turned. His armor activated the defensive shield. The attack was blocked. Cardo immediately countered. Boom! The enemy machine exploded. Cardo looked around. This is insane. Lapu-Lapu's voice came through his helmet. Focus. Right. Cardo charged forward. Meanwhile, Lapu-Lapu stood on the defensive tower. He wasn't fighting directly. He was controlling the battlefield. Every warrior transmitted data. Every enemy movement was recorded. Every attack was analyzed. Lapu-Lapu's mind processed everything. Enemy speed. Enemy weapons. Enemy shield frequency. Enemy formation. Enemy weaknesses. He was no longer simply fighting. He was engineering the battlefield. Suddenly area appeared. Creator. Report. Enemy command vessel identified. Lapu-Lapu looked up. Where? Upper atmosphere. A massive vessel appeared. It was unlike the others. The ship was enormous. Larger than Iron River City. Lapu-Lapu stared. That's the command vessel? Confirmed. How strong? Unknown. Can we destroy it? No. Lapu-Lapu frowned. Why? Power level exceeds current defensive capacity. Lapu-Lapu's eyes narrowed. Then we don't destroy it. Area paused. Command. We enter it. Area became silent. Cardo heard. You want to do what? Lapu-Lapu smiled. Board the command vessel. Cardo immediately responded. Are you insane? Possibly. We have 3,000 enemy ships. Most are distracted. And the command ship? That's where the real battle is. Cardo sighed. I knew this was going to happen. Lapu-Lapu activated his armor. The Iron Emperor armor. Unlike the mechanical cultivation armor, Lapu-Lapu's armor was unique. It wasn't powered by a normal energy core. It was powered by the core inside his body. The moment he activated it, the armor changed. Metal plates formed around his body. Kai flowed through them. Energy surged. The armor became part of him. Lapu-Lapu looked at Cardo. Ready? Cardo stared. No. Good. What? Let's go. Lapu-Lapu jumped. The armor activated. Boom! He launched into the sky. Cardo followed. The two flew toward the command vessel. Enemy ships immediately attacked. Lapu-Lapu moved. 1 beam. Dodge. 2 missiles. Shield. 3 energy attacks. Counter. His armor moved faster than anything the enemy had expected. Lapu-Lapu didn't fight like a warrior. He fought like an engineer. Every movement was calculated. Every attack was analyzed. Every weakness was exploited. He reached the command vessel. Cardo landed beside him. The massive ship towered above them. Cardo looked around. How do we get inside? Lapu-Lapu placed his hand against the hull. Like this. Kai entered the metal. The core responded. The metal changed. The ancient technology recognized him. A doorway opened. Cardo stared. How did you do that? Lapu-Lapu walked inside. Authority. Cardo followed. What does that mean? It means Lapu-Lapu looked at the ancient technology. This isn't their ship. Cardo froze. What? Lapu-Lapu stared at the walls. The technology was familiar. Too familiar. The same design. The same energy system. The same symbols. The same architecture. This ship had been built by the same civilization as the ancient city. Lapu-Lapu's expression changed. The enemy didn't create this. Cardo looked around. Then who did? Lapu-Lapu answered. My people. Silence. Lapu-Lapu walked deeper into the ship. The corridors were empty. No soldiers. No machines. Nothing. Then a holographic projection appeared. A figure stood before them. Lapu-Lapu froze. The figure looked exactly like him. Same face. Same eyes. Same expression. But older. Much older. Cardo stared. Lapu-Lapu? No. The hologram spoke. My name, the voice echoed, was once Lapu. Lapu-Lapu's heart stopped. The figure continued, I was the first architect. Lapu-Lapu stared. His past. His previous life. The first architect. The Iron Emperor. The man who had built the ancient civilization. The man who had disappeared. The hologram looked directly at him. If you were seeing this, the figure smiled. Then I failed. Lapu-Lapu's expression changed. Failed at what? The hologram continued. The civilization is gone. The enemy has awakened. And the core has chosen you. Lapu-Lapu stepped forward. Why? The hologram didn't answer. Instead it showed an image. Earth. The blue planet. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. The image changed. Earth was surrounded by massive structures. Millions of machines. Armies. Ships. A civilization beyond imagination. Then the image changed again. Earth was burning. Lapu-Lapu froze. No. Cardo stared. What is that? Lapu-Lapu couldn't answer. The hologram continued. The enemy is not from this world. They are from beyond the stars. They have conquered civilizations. World after world. System after system. Planet after planet. The hologram looked directly at Lapu-Lapu. And eventually Earth. Lapu-Lapu clenched his fists. Why me? The hologram finally answered. Because you built the way home. Lapu-Lapu froze. The hologram pointed toward his chest. The core is the key. It contains the technology required to open the return path. Your memories were erased because the enemy was searching for you. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. Who erased them? The hologram smiled. You did. Why? Because you knew the hologram began fading. That one day you would return. Lapu-Lapu stepped forward. Wait. The hologram disappeared. The ship went dark. Cardo stared. What did we just see? Lapu-Lapu didn't answer. He was thinking. His memories. The core. The return path. Earth. The enemy. Everything was connected. Then the ship shook. Area voice sounded. Warning. Lapu-Lapu immediately turned. What? Command vessel self-destruct sequence. Cardo's eyes widened. Self-destruct? Yes. How long? 3 minutes. Cardo looked at Lapu-Lapu. We need to leave. Not yet. What do you mean not yet? Lapu-Lapu looked around. This ship contains technology. We can't leave it. Cardo stared. You're going to salvage it? Yes. We have 3 minutes. Then we work faster. Lapu-Lapu activated the core. The entire ship responded. The walls opened. Energy systems appeared. Data cores. Weapons. Engines. Power systems. Lapu-Lapu's eyes widened. Area. Yes. Download everything. Confirmed. Priority? All. Cardo stared. All? All. The data transfer began. The ship shook. 2 minutes. The enemy fleet was still fighting outside. The mechanical cultivation army continued battling, but the enemy command vessel was dying. Lapu-Lapu watched the data. 70%, 80%, 90%, 100. Done. Lapu-Lapu turned. Let's go. They ran. The ship began collapsing. Lapu-Lapu and Cardo jumped from the vessel. The moment they escaped, the command vessel exploded. Boom! The explosion shook the sky. The enemy fleet stopped. Every vessel lost synchronization. Lapu-Lapu immediately realized. The command ship had been controlling them. Without it they were vulnerable. Lapu-Lapu activated the army network. All units. The warriors responded. Attack. 1,000 mechanical cultivators attacked. The enemy fleet collapsed. One ship. Then another. Then 10. Then 100. The battle ended. Within minutes the enemy army retreated. The sky became clear. The people of Iron River City stared upward. The first battle was over. Lapu-Lapu landed. Cardo followed. The warriors gathered. 1,000 soldiers. Many were injured, but they had survived. Lapu-Lapu looked at the battlefield. Hundreds of enemy vessels had been destroyed. But something disturbed him. The enemy hadn't been defeated. They had simply retreated. And now they knew. The first architect was alive. Lapu-Lapu looked toward the horizon. The war had begun. But the battle had also given him something. Knowledge. The enemy technology. The ancient ship. The holographic message. And the truth about the core. Lapu-Lapu returned to the underground city. The data was analyzed. The results were enormous. The enemy had technology far beyond his own. But the ancient civilization had once possessed even greater technology. And now Lapu-Lapu had access to both. He stood before the central command platform. Area appeared. Creator. Show me the return path. The holographic display activated. A massive map appeared. The path wasn't a straight line. It crossed dimensions. Space. Time. Energy. Lapu-Lapu stared. How long? Area answered. Current estimate. 37 years. Lapu-Lapu froze. 37? Yes. Lapu-Lapu frowned. That's too long. Insufficient energy. Then we need more energy. Confirmed. How much? Area calculated. Then required energy. The number appeared. Lapu-Lapu stared. The amount was unimaginable. He needed the energy of an entire planet. Cardo looked at him. That's impossible. Lapu-Lapu shook his head. No. How? We build. Build what? Lapu-Lapu looked toward the massive underground city. Everything. Cardo sighed. Again? Lapu-Lapu smiled. Again. He turned toward the ancient machines. The enemy had awakened. The path to Earth was open. The core was responding. The ancient civilization was returning. But the enemy had one advantage. Time. They had thousands of years of technological advancement. Lapu-Lapu had only a few months. But he had something they didn't. A second chance. And the knowledge of the future. Lapu-Lapu raised his hand. The entire ancient city activated. Factories. Research facilities. Energy systems. Training chambers. Everything. The Iron River City would become a technological powerhouse. The mechanical cultivation army would become stronger. The Kitech civilization would expand. And Lapu-Lapu would begin rebuilding the lost civilization of the first architect. Not to conquer the world. Not to become a king. But to return home. To the blue planet. To Earth. And when he finally returned, he would not return as the weak 60-year-old engineer who had once died alone. He would return as something else. The Iron Emperor. The battle was over. But the real journey had only just begun.